I have to put on lipstick because the two of you are wearing this like dark red lipstick, and I am feeling like I'm not part of the friend group.
I don't know what I'm doing, but I'm doing my best.
Hey everybody, it's me, Busy Phillips. This is Busy Phillips. This is Doing Her Best. I'm joined by Caissie St. Ange.
Hi.
We have an incredible guest host today. You asked for her. You got her. Chelsea Devantez.
Hello. Okay, so honored to be asked for, but Busy, you made it seem like Caissie asked for me, and like there was a debate about it.
I meant the audience.
Oh,
Chelsea, come on.
We've been dying to have you on the podcast.
We've been dying to have you on the pod, but also multiple people on Instagram suggested you.
no way.
No, I wasn't saying that just Caissie wanted you. Oh my God.
Here's the thing.
You wanted her.
Yeah, you wanted her.
To
Here
live with
she
this
is.
shit.
You know, it's not even 10 a.m. and I'm ready to feel bad about myself. At any wisp of like, give me anything and I will take it there.
I get it. I'm there. I'm there, right there with you.
Yeah.
Well, Chelsea, I can't speak for Caissie, but I am thrilled that you're here. And really, people did bring up your name a bunch. I'm holding the left side of my boob because I just had a biopsy on my tit.
Whoa.
Have you ever had to do that? You're young. You're like what, 28?
I have
29?
not. I've not. Oh my God.
What are you?
Thank you. Sure. Put that out there. I have not had a biopsy on my tits. I've had it on my ovary though. My other tits. My lower tits.
Your lower
Like,
tits.
did you have a cyst? Did you have a cyst?
Yeah, I actually had a 7.5 pound dermoid tumor on my right ovary when I was 22.
Oh my God.
Yeah.
A sister.
Insane.
An
A
inner,
sister.
almost
Yeah.
like an absorbed twin. What was her name?
Oh my God, I never named the beast. I think I'm gonna name it Daddy Issues because this is no joke. So I looked pregnant. So I kept going to try and figure out what was wrong with me, and doctors would be like, "You're pregnant." And I was like, "I haven't had sex in a very long time, not to brag. There's no fucking way." Anyways, when they finally figured it out, I went to this like very woo-woo doctor in New Mexico who had a huge book of emotional ailments that lead to physical ailments.
We talked about this on the podcast a couple of weeks ago.
Yes. And so he was like, was it your right ovary or your left? And I was like, my right. And he was like, Daddy abandoned you. And I was like, bitch, yes, he did.
Oh my.
And if it was my left ovary, it would have been your mother abandoned you.
Oh, interesting.
It is interesting. Sometimes that stuff really, really checks out, and sometimes it doesn't at all.
Yeah, totally.
Well, it's like astrology. It's like astrology. You know what I mean? Like sometimes
Yes.
you're like 150% this shit's real, and sometimes you're like, that's just made up. That doesn't apply to me at all.
I feel like if I had a cyst on an ovary and the doctor was like, oh, it's because your dad abandoned you, but he hadn't, then I'd just live the rest of my life waiting for my dad to be like, by the way, I'm sick of you. I'm over it.
And your ovaries knew it was coming.
Well,
felt it.
my breast, I don't know what my left breast coordinates to, but I got my first mammogram, which I had put off because 2020.
Yeah.
You know.
Yeah.
Of course.
You're supposed to. I've had like ultrasounds on my boobs at the gyno. I've always done my like yearly checks and my swabs and all that shit. And so I waited until I was 40, like everybody does. And then it was COVID. And then I didn't get a mammogram because I was like, no one's doing anything. Everything was shut down, obviously. So I finally did it. And it was like, I'm not a person, I really am not freaked out at all. Like I'll find out tomorrow if it's abnormal or there's something bad in there.
Right. Yeah.
But I had cysts in both boobs, which is not unusual because I have cysts on my ovary. Like I'm cystic.
You're
I had
cystic.
cystic acne when I was in my early 20s. Like it's just cysts happen
Yeah.
for me.
Yeah.
There's a sweatshirt. That's a new sweatshirt.
I know. That's a new sweatshirt. So anyway, merch. Don't forget about our merch. Anyway, so the doctor was really nice, and she was like, "Listen, what we need to do is just like a needle biopsy to like pull out some of the tissue and the cyst and the whatever. This one just looks weird on my left side. But she's like, but I feel very confident that it's fine. But I just
Ooh,
want to
okay.
be ultra conservative and safe.
And
I
does
was
it
like,
hurt?
Well, not yet, because I think it's still a little numb. But so they like numbed it up. And it was like, I definitely have a very high tolerance for pain. Also, I did find out yesterday that I probably bruised or / cracked 2 ribs doing my pole dancing 2 weeks ago. That I've just been like powering through with this pain and like not being able to breathe deeply and my back spasming, thinking like that's just the way that life should be. Like I should just be constantly in pain. And then finally yesterday morning I woke up and I was like, I guess I was like sort of in the kind of pain. I'm sure both of you experienced this because I just know you both and I know you have, where like everything started to get foggy. Like I couldn't think straight.
Yeah.
Like I was like, what's wrong with me? I feel like I'm underwater. And through a referral got in to see this PT guy who like examined me and was like, oh, you have, like your ribs are probably cracked. They might be bruised. They might just be bruised, but basically like bruised ribs are the same thing as cracked ribs. Like,
Oh. Well,
Which I
that's
didn't
fun.
know.
That's fun. A bruise is the same as a crack. That's so
Yeah.
nice.
yeah. And he's like, and it just has to heal. And like, it's causing the muscles in your back to try to like overcorrect. So they're spasming. And so he did like, what is that stuff called? Where it's like vibrates into your muscles.
Oh,
Do you know what I'm talking about?
Like ultrasound?
What is it called?
ther-
No, it's
like TENS
like physical therapy. It's like TENS therapy.
Yeah.
Exactly. Like physical therapists do it on your muscles. It like
Yeah.
pulses your muscles to relax them. So he did that for a bit and then he like worked on it a little bit, the muscular part in my back. And then he was like, you also like should just stop doing the things that you're doing because I feel like you've exacerbated something.
Was pole
and, like,
dancing for the show?
well, it was originally. So, guys at home, Chelsea is not just a beloved personality, stand-up host,
podcast queen.
queen. I was like trying to think like what is like a
Podcast mouthpiece, amorphous
Yeah.
woman in her
Very-
closet recording.
very successful podcast, celebrity book club. Anyway, Chelsea also is a writer on Girls 5 Eva. So that's exciting for all of us.
Yeah,
But
so
anyway,
exciting.
So Chelsea knows that the pole dancing was for Girls 5 Eva, but then I kind of decided to continue doing it because I really enjoyed it, and then also I just like I don't know, I was just like into it and I wanted to keep doing it.
Yeah, it's
And
the
a week-
coolest.
Well,
It
it's
makes
so
you feel
fun.
powerful until it almost kills you.
Well, let's
What?
it wasn't killing me, but it did crack my ribs.
It did crack
okay,
yours.
so it's like an intense athletic
Can I
sport.
Can I say something? So when I was in New York, I was like, oh my God, pole dancing workout classes. Like, yeah, that's for me. I'm a feminist. Let's get thin and learn to spin. And by the end of it, I'll be making money. Like, this is going to be great. I went to that class. I couldn't do one spin. I could not do one basic stripper spin because you get to that class and they're like, oh yeah, you'll have to lift your entire body weight with your arms. And I was like, I'm sorry, what? Like I didn't get off the floor. It was really pathetic.
Yeah.
So I just want to give a kudos to you for casually picking up pole dancing. And I do yell about this a lot in my stand-up, but like people don't realize that like strippers are like Olympic athletes.
Yeah, I mean, listen, a lot of people, I think, try pole dancing because it's like a popular fitness class or whatever. But here's the thing. If you could not climb the rope in elementary school gym, you're not getting up that
But
pole probably
You're not swinging
without
that pussy
No.
around the pole if you can't get up the rope in elementary school.
To be fair, I also was not a rope climber in elementary school. I always failed the presidential fitness test.
Oh man.
And always.
Yeah.
But I've come to the working out later in life and I really am strong from doing all my Lec Fit workout. And it just was like the kind of thing where it was written in the show and I took it as a challenge. And I just thought like, how fucking fun and cool would it be if I did that instead of having a double do it?
Yeah, it is
And
cool.
it looks great. Like, and in the show, the stuff that we shot. And then I was like continuing doing it because it was really fun and I really liked it. And I'm gonna go back to the pole, guys. I just need to take a break so that my ribs can heal.
You need to pull a Cher and get those ribs removed. You
Yeah,
know, she
get
just
the
the
ribs
bottom
removed.
two, the bottom two.
Or maybe like a padded pole for you. Just, you know.
I don't think that that's a thing, Casey.
You know,
Well, I'm
what
saying,
makes you
but
feel
we could
sexier than a
innovate.
padded pole?
We could innovate, and like a padded pole, that could be like a thing that you sell on QVC. You could become very wealthy.
I know the move that it happened on. I felt it. And then I was just like, that didn't feel right, but I am me. So I just was like, let's keep going.
Yeah, for sure.
I think this padded pole thing has legs. Like, are you a lazy ass, old ass bitch who wants to be swinging her tits around a pole? Get a padded pole. I would buy it. I can't.
It's not
get
gonna
off
work,
the
guys.
ground.
You can't grip it if it's padded. You need to be able to grip it.
There's got to be a way. We need to get a scientific mind on it. You know that I love to invent shit, and I think like at least a slightly padded pole.
I'm gonna just take a break. I have to put on lipstick because the two of you are wearing this like dark red lipstick, and I am feeling like I'm not part of the friend group right now.
Busy,
and so
you know, I'm
just
only
gonna do it.
Doing this. Busy actually taught me this in one of our table reads for Girls 5 Eva. She was like, you know, the trick to looking good on a Zoom is just putting on lipstick and nothing else on your face because the Zoom will only pick up your lip. And I've been doing it ever since. I don't have anything on except a nearly black red lipstick.
You look totally made up.
Well, it's your tip. It's a hot tip.
Well, guys, now you've heard it. The way to look put together and hot on a Zoom is to just do a bold red lip.
Just a
That's
lip.
all you got to do. I'm doing it right
lip.
now. This is an old Kylie Jenner lip kit.
Oh, nice. It looks good.
This
It's
is one of
pretty.
the old ones. I haven't used it in years. I mean, I don't know. I know you're supposed to throw makeup out.
I was going to say,
don't.
I can't imagine a Kylie Jenner lip kit ages well of all the lip kits.
I don't know. It seems kind of okay right now.
I never throw makeup out either. I know that it's like you're supposed to err on the side of caution, but I just feel like, you know, you'd know if you started to get infected by a lipstick or something. You know?
Well, I don't think it's like it's infecting you. I think it's like if you got an acne breakout or bacteria on your face, right?
Yeah. But that's
Yeah.
I'm like very
Right.
into cleaning brushes, cleaning sponges, that vibe. But in terms of throwing makeup out, mascara, I rotate. Like I throw out mascara. But unless it smells weird, I kind of just hold on to it.
Yeah. Mascara dries out and then it becomes ineffective. So for me, that's the drop dead date is when you like aren't getting anything out of your mascara anymore. But anything else, especially things that are dry, I'm not as careful as you're supposed to be. But I do try to buy things in small quantities so that
Yeah, me too.
they run out faster.
Here's
That's
the other
smart.
thing I will say about mascara. For me, brand new mascara also sucks. I need mascara to be like 3 weeks old in order for me to really get the proper clump.
Yeah. I got it.
That,
That's
like-
another like potential business, like aged mascara.
Sure. It's aged like a fine wine. Okay, guys, I have so many things to talk about and I have so many questions for Chelsea. If you aren't a follower of Chelsea Devantez, perhaps you don't know that Chelsea's going to have to move to New York.
Oh my
Real soon.
God. Yeah. Oh, it's such a bummer.
Well, Chelsea, first of all, maybe, but also maybe not a bummer. And the job itself is the biggest not bummer of all time. Why don't you tell our friends who are listening, all 10 of them, what you're doing?
So I am the head writer for Jon Stewart's new Apple show. And I'm so excited about the show. I think we're not giving it away yet, but I think it's going to be a really exciting, cool show. And I adore him. He actually gave me my first break in TV at all, ever. He was the first person to give me a job. And so to go back now as his head writer, Very exciting. But
And how did he find you originally? Where were you? Where'd you come from? What'd you do?
So I was in Chicago at the Second City, where, for anyone who doesn't know, it is a comedy theater to the likes of Tina Fey and Steve Colbert and John Belushi, and just all these people came from this theater. So, and it has since collapsed.
And Shantira.
And
That's like our
Shantira,
friend
yeah.
Oh my God.
was
Yeah.
Second City. Were you guys the same age there or no?
We were
Year or whatever.
we were in the same generation, I think is like what you call it. And yeah, love Shantira. Met her in Chicago. I was maybe a generation above. It's weird how it goes, but yeah, so I was there. I did everything there. I was an intern. I took classes. I did everything until I went on a cruise ship for them. Then I toured on the road.
Like Shantira.
Like Shantira.
Yes.
Yep. Then I was on, touring company like Shantira. And then I did 3 main stage reviews just like Shantira. Wow, me and Shantira. And so I was on my 3rd main stage review, and I'd had a big friend falling out with my career trajectory, and my managers were like, I had a writing partner, and they were like, you have to start over. You have to none of your samples count.
So you had a writing partner, and then you guys had a falling out, and then all your agents, managers were like, well, you got to start from scratch.
Yeah, they were
right?
literally like, you have nothing now. They weren't the nicest. They were like, you have nothing now. Because I had been making short films and doing all this stuff for years. I mean, I just had such a huge amount of work. The hustle. But, but because I had all my biggest, best samples as a duo, they were like, you fucked. So I was trying to figure out what I was going to do with my life, but I also needed a job very fast. And we did satire at the Second City, political stuff like that. So I started putting in packets for late night shows. And one of those packets, I mean, I did a shit ton of them. And one of them was for Jon Stewart's HBO project, which is the show he did after The Daily Show. Right. And put this packet in, and then this is kind of a long story, but I will tell it. It's about,
listen, we love a long podcast, so.
Okay. All right. Because it also involves our other very good friend, Ashley Nicole Black.
Yes.
We love it.
So I get this, my manager calls me and she's like, John wants to meet you. He wants you to come fly out to New Jersey. And you're gonna go right on his farm for a day. His wife has an animal sanctuary, and you're gonna go down to Jersey. You're gonna write on the farm for a day, and it was very clear that was basically gonna be a writing test. That I was gonna spend the day writing, and that was gonna be a test to see if I got the job or not. And so I was like, "Oh my God, are you sure?" She's like, "Yes, but you have to cover your flight to New York." So at the time had just no money, right? And so I was like, "You're sure?" She's like, "Yes, I'm sure." So I bought, a ticket on Spirit Airlines to New York. Getting out of Second City shows was so hard. They would foster all this talent and then be like, "You can't leave. You can't even leave the show for a day. No one can come in for you." You could be like, "Hey, I'm auditioning for a pilot," and they'd be like, "Go fuck yourself. You have have a show to do, and we're paying you in chicken tenders. You will stay." So anyways, call Second City. I'm like, "I'm very ill. I can't come in tonight. I have strep throat." And so pull out of the show. My manager calls me and is like, "Okay, so John didn't know that you didn't live in New York, and he doesn't want to bother you and upset your life, so he just wants to Zoom with you."
Oh no.
And I was like, I've already put the lies in motion. I bought I'm
on my way.
I'm on my way. I've bought the non-refundable ticket. Like, what are you talking about? You said this was for sure. And so I was basically like, well, I'm going to New York no matter what. Like, I already lied my way out of the show. I already have this plane ticket. Like, I'm just going to. So I Zoom with John.
From New York?
From Chicago.
Oh, okay.
He offers me. My manager was like, try and bring up that maybe you're going to be in New York for like fun and you could come by. I was like, I don't know how to do that.
Oh my God.
So I Zoom with John. He offers me the job. I get off the Zoom and get on a plane and go to New York City. So while he had offered me the job, it was more like I could feel like I had gotten the job, but you still need like your agent to call you and all that
Yeah.
stuff. So
Right.
I fly to New York where I meet Ashley, who's my best friend from Second City. We were in our level 1 class together, and I like went and met my little brother who was living there at the time at a coffee shop, and my phone rang and he thought I was talking to my mom. So he took a picture of me to send to our mom, and it was my agent being like, you got the official offer, like you're in. And it was so exciting. And now I have a picture of the moment, and it was my first job in TV. And like, I had really been coming off this like heartbreak of my writing partner, and so it was like, I'm gonna go to New York. And then Ashley and I went to celebrate at an all-you-can-drink NSYNC cover band warehouse show.
Oh my God.
And you know, when you're broke and you spend $80 on your warehouse show, you're like, I'm gonna get so fucked up, like I have to like make my money's worth tonight. So I got so drunk celebrating that I threw away my phone and my wallet for no reason, threw up in Ashley's elevator, took off all of my clothes and got into her bed. She had made me a bed on the couch. I took off all my clothes, got into her bed. Ashley had been handed Adderall that night. And so she rode the elevator up and down waiting to find the one I'd puked in and cleaned it. She washed my clothes. And in the morning when I like could barely wake up, she turned to me and said, I figured it out. I know how Hillary Clinton can win the election.
No. Wait, but also, why didn't she give that information to the Clinton campaign?
She tried. Oh, she tried.
We all tried together. We all worked. That's how I met Chelsea. Is we were all working on some little project to try to help get Hillary Clinton elected.
Yeah, they wanted to reach out to the youth and be funny, and so they hired us, and then they used none of it. Yeah, and then I got on I had to go to the airport and be like, I have no ID, wallet, or phone. Like, can you prove who I am and let me get on this plane? And then I flew back home and did a show that night.
Wow.
So that's how I got the job. And then I moved to New York and then to Jersey for a year on a show that never aired. And that was that until now.
Wow.
And then you moved to LA.
A pivot and a vomit story.
A pivot and a vomit.
My favorite, my two favorite
Yeah.
things. Well, I'm very excited personally that you're going to be coming to New York. Do you have the same feelings as last week on the show? We talked a lot about how hard it is to live here. And I actually I have thoughts and feelings since last week, Caissie, that I need to share and a story about it. But Chelsea, are you what are your feelings? Are you nervous? Are you not excited to leave LA?
I'm not excited. Busy. I'm going to need your help, your support.
You have it. I'm so fucking excited to have a friend coming here. I can't even tell you.
I'm so excited to have you there. I have such a bad relationship with New York. I basically am from all over the Southwest. We moved around a lot. And
Same.
Yes, of course. And you're from Arizona. And I'm New Mexico. I'm all over, but my family landed in New Mexico, which is also why I have a special kinship with Busy, because I'm not going to call you Southwest trash, but I'll call me Southwest trash.
Baby.
And
I'm Southwest trash.
Yeah. I mean, we love it. Like when you notice other Southwest trash, there's a special little tingle you get.
Did you read my book?
So I've been waiting to read your book to coincide with Girls 5 Ever coming out so I can plug the show.
Okay, great.
And also I'm going to try, you have to come in and talk about 15 minutes on your book. I have read parts of your book, but I'm trying to hold it because I'm going to recap it on Instagram. And I have the person I'm recapping your book with is obsessed with you. So it's going to be very fun.
Well, I just think there's so much stuff in the front half of my book, about that is so specific to growing up in the Southwest and Arizona that even when I was having the book edited, line edited, and legal edited, the editors would send me these notes that are a wash. I don't know what a wash is, sitting on the side of a wash. What are you talking about? And I was they're you have to change that. And I'm I'm not changing it. It's like a storm drain. It's for the flash floods, in the desert. If you live in the desert, you know what that is. If you don't, don't know what to tell you. Like then you just don't know then you can look it up.
It is a part of the country that people do not know about. Every time I write a TV show, it's always set in the Southwest because they're just ignoring us. When I went to college in New York, this is how dumb I was. I had never gone to New York City, and I was like, I want to be in entertainment. I guess that's where Broadway is. Like, I guess I'll go there. Like, had no concept of other cities.
Yeah.
Like, and then
Did you think you were going to be a Broadway actor?
No, I think like coming from, I also didn't have TV growing up. And so I had like, you can be Julia Roberts in Mystic Pizza, I guess is a career. And I was like, I guess I'll do that. Like I'll try and be, because Julia Roberts was what? The ugly one, the weird girl. And so, but yeah, I didn't really have I think I was like, I guess I'll have to try and be on Broadway. Like, I'm not really sure how this works. I was so dumb that I asked a friend who lived in a city what kinds of coats you wear in this city.
Wow.
And they were like, a coat. And I was like, yeah, but like, what kind of coat do you wear in like a city? And they were like, what are you talking about? But they should have told me because I showed up in overalls and a t-shirt I got for free at a marathon. So New York City kicked my ass harder than it could kick anyone's ass. And when I got there, people would be like, because I was, coming from New Mexico, they're like, if I call your cell phone, will I get international charges? And I was like, it's New Mexico. Or they would be like, why aren't you more tan? And I'd be like, okay, well, I don't know if you know this, but there's a ski resort 10 minutes from me. Like,
Right.
Like I've seen snow before. I've seen snow every year. And they're like, you have in New Mexico? It's like, oh God, you guys.
But to be fair, the reverse is true for me. Like when Mark and I started dating and we visited his family for the first time, like over a holiday. And I was like, wait, so we're landing in Virginia, but we're going to Maryland, but we're crossing through DC, but then we're going to Pennsylvania for dinner. What are you fucking talking about?
Listen,
like, why is that a thing? Like, I don't understand.
The United States is complicated. When I was a little kid, I saw a commercial for New England on TV, like a tourism commercial for New England. And I was like, Mom, I want to go there. And my mom was like, you are there. And I was like, what?
That's
Wait, that's fucking
amazing.
genius. Well, here's what I want to say, Chelsea. I think that you coming back to be the head writer on Jon Stewart's new television show, probably in a little bit of time when the weather is not frigid and things are going to start to like open back up a little bit and hopefully people are getting vaccinated and like I actually think that you might have a new experience with New York. That is what I'm predicting for you.
Why? Why do you think?
Because the city is definitely different. There's like, they think at least like 500,000 people have like just split, like left the city. So it is just a lot less congested and sort of oppressive in that way.
Mm-hmm.
And I think that the weather is going to get nicer and you're coming back like successful. You're not like coming here as from New Mexico with your like free t-shirt. You're like coming into this situation with like a boss ass job in an industry that like, you only could have dreamed of succeeding in before. And people, I will say, just from doing Girls 5 Eva, like all the crews, everyone is so fucking excited to be back to work that like everyone makes it like it's so enjoyable.
Oh, I love that.
To like be there,
Yeah.
And because you'll be there as opposed to Girls 5 Eva, which Chelsea did from her own home.
From my couch and my Zoom.
in Zoom.
You know what's interesting? There's this comedian, Yasser Lester. Do you guys know him?
Oh my gosh, shut up.
I was like, for a sec, did you see my face? I was like, I literally was like, what is Caissie doing?
You were like,
What
has
is
she
doing?
not
What
been
is-
dating him? Did I have the
What is
wrong
sh-
person?
What is she doing?
Yasser is Chelsea's man, but he has the most interesting theory on this, which he says that it's hard to love your struggle city. You must know this about him. I'm doing the worst thing where you tell somebody something about their own boyfriend that they live with. But we had this really interesting conversation once where he said it's really hard to love the city that you struggled in, you know. And
But I struggled in LA.
I mean, you're a unique case, I guess. I mean, LA is maybe not as hard of a struggle city as New York, I guess, because, you know, it's like still sunshiny and it gives the illusion of.
Have you sobbed in your car on Cahuenga when someone won't fucking let you in and you're late to an audition that you're definitely not going to get because they've already offered it to Tara Reid? If the answer is no, then you don't know.
Yeah,
Kind of struggles I went through in those early days.
For sure. Like,
yeah.
and, you know, and that happens in New York, but then like a semi goes by and splashes like, you know, an entire sinkhole worth of mud water on you, you know, like that
is true.
It just has that added layer. But that's an interesting theory, I think.
It's super interesting. And he loves New York and isn't such a big fan of LA. And I hate New York and I love LA. And, you know, LA is his struggle city. New York is mine.
Is he coming with you?
Yes, to an extent. I mean, like, the man always has 10 jobs. You know what I mean? Here's what I was going to say. I went to New York for school. It just kicked me in the ovaries and came out my mouth every day. Like, New York had a foot that went up my ass and out my mouth every day. Like, I just ate shit every day there. Have I described it well enough how badly I
got
did
it.
in that city? Okay.
I got
You've
the
got
idea.
okay, great. So I leave New York, go to Chicago because I realized my love was comedy. I just want to do comedy. And Chicago, my rent was $300 a month in a windowless room. In New York, it was $2,000 a month for a windowless room. So I'm in Chicago doing all this stuff. I get a job for Jon Stewart, which is the story I just told. And everyone's like, you're going to love New York this time. You're going back as a TV writer. So then I already went back to New York, hated it again. Yasser and I were long distance when we first met, and we would keep being like, oh, Yasser's going to move here permanently. And we would move all of our stuff into a new place. And then he would get a call to be on set a week later and have to leave again. So ideally he's coming with me, but also we both know he's going to get a job and have to leave. So we'll see. Which is tough. I don't want to be long distance again, but it is what it is.
Well, he says he's going to retire and live off of you. So
the funniest part is that I know he means it. Like, if I really do get to a place, I know he will stop. He will only do things he wants to do. He won't take jobs for money anymore, which would be my feminist masterpiece would be to have taken a very successful man and he becomes a house husband. Like, what an arc.
He'll be like, when my kids were, very quick story, when my kids were in preschool, my younger son needed like a very complicated glasses prescription, and his pediatrician recommended the number one pediatric eye doctor on the East Coast. And like, my son just decided he hated this guy. He was really little. He was just a toddler. And like, you need the kid to do what you need them to do when you're trying to like, examine their eyes. And so I went to like a PTA meeting at the preschool where I had been a mom for years, and everybody was, you know, just catching up. And one of the moms was like, oh, how's it going? And I was like, oh, I had a bummer of a day because I had to take my son to the number one children's eye doctor on the East Coast, and he just hated his guts and wasn't going to do what he needed to do. And she was like, oh shoot, what are you going to do? And I was like, I guess I need to find the number two eye doctor on the East Coast for children, and I just need to figure out who that is. And this mom was like, oh, I guess that's me. And I was like, what?
Wait,
and I was
what?
like, I've known you for like 3 years. I had no idea that you were even any type of doctor.
She was an eye doctor?
She was like,
But like
the best.
The best.
Like, and I was like, wow. How are you? But that's
also
just...
not the best. Number two. She was like, I am number two.
Because I guess this guy was legend, and she was like, one day she'll be number one when, you know, but that's a woman for you, you know, just like going into Manhattan every day, eye doctoring it up, making a name for herself, coming to the preschool in Connecticut and doing it all and never being like, oh, by the way, I'm a great doctor. FYI, everyone. Like, I had no idea.
That's so funny.
That's it.
That's what
That's
you need.
a woman for you.
That's what you need to do, so that Yasser's like at some type of meeting and people are like, I don't know, I'm just looking for like a legendary comedic actor writer, and Yasser's like, I know a guy who does that.
Well, the funny thing is that now I'm gonna move to New York, put on a lab coat, tell people I'm a doctor, visit some preschools, and hope that improves my New York experience when I'm going back for the third time.
I have a gut feeling. So last week on our podcast, Chelsea, Raymond, my assistant, and I were just having a lot of emotional feelings about how much we were missing LA. And the day that the podcast came out on Wednesday, I had gone to this herbalist guy in Soho to try to fix me. It's like I'm taking 47 pills a day. He like told me that my issues are systemic, which is that's the best title for my second book now.
Honey, all our issues are systemic.
Yeah, exactly. So, and then my phone started to die as I was walking home. I tried to like buy a charger. I had like a day where New York was kicking my ass, you know, after spending an entire like 3-hour podcast talking about how New York like doesn't feel like home and I'm like missing LA and should we just like go back and what the fuck are we doing and all this stuff. But like I had a really strong feeling like I needed to leave LA and I needed to be here. And so, and the kids are doing so well here. So it's like been a real struggle. Like Mark and I have been, both of us, like crying for weeks about like this, what are we doing? Like that should we don't know anyone. We have nothing here. Like we're not, this isn't our, we both like put in all the fucking time and energy and effort and like LA was it for us, you know? So anyway, I was walking through like sort of near where Ray's apartment is on my way to walk home. I was just like, I'm just going to walk home. I'm going to listen to music until my battery dies. This fucking Mophie didn't work, asshole. And I was thinking about how sad Ray was when we were talking to him, Caissie. Yeah. And so I texted him and I was like, hey, there's 2 tables available at Bar Pistolino, which is like this little cafe on the street. And it was like the first day it was nice weather. And I was like, my phone's about to die, but do you want to come have an Aperol Spritz with me? And he was like, yes. So I went across the street and I was like, hi. And just as I noticed they pulled the tables together and 4 people sat down. And I was like, you got to be fucking kidding me. Like you just have to be fucking kidding me. But anyway, so I was like, there's 2 of us. And she's like, it might be like 20 minutes. And I was like, whatever, dude. Fine. I like at this point now I'm in for the fucking Aperol Spritz.
Yeah.
So Ray comes and meets me. Oh, that was also the day that I found out that I had to get the boob biopsy. So I was feeling like a little fucking weird anyway. And then the acupuncture is like, you have systemic issues and you have to take all these pills. Anyway, I was just like, what the fuck is happening? Mark texts me like, are you okay? I'm like, I'm fine. Ray and I are having an Aperol Spritz at Bar Pistolino. And he's like, well, my meeting's over, his Zoom meeting. Should I come down and meet you guys? And I was like, yeah, but my phone's about to die. So like, yes, but if you need anything, text Ray. So Mark shows up. We have another Aperol Spritz. And we're just like, the entire conversation is like, should we just leave? Like, should we fucking pack it in? Like, I'm like, what my show, I really feel like Girls 5 Eva is probably coming back next fall. Yeah. You know, so like, I'm like, what? I don't even know what that means. Maybe I have to commute. I don't even fucking know, dude. But that was the whole conversation. We get up. Ray's like, okay, guys, like, have a good night. You guys should get dinner. You should like go to Via Carrata across the street, the pasta place, Italian restaurant. That's like amazing. And like one of those places where like everybody goes, but it's like cool, casual and like not a big deal. Mark and I, by the way, have only done the like sitting outside thing in New York during this time because of COVID. This would be the second time.
Wow. Yeah.
Because I just, especially when I was working, I wasn't gonna risk anything. Right. And like, honestly, once it got cold, I didn't feel comfortable about those tents. You're just fucking inside, guys.
Indoor
what are
dining.
you doing? It's just indoor dining. Anyway, but Via Carrata is totally just sheltered heat lamps, but totally open. So we walk across the street, walk up to like the maitre d' guy on the sidewalk, and we saw like 2 empty tables there too, right? And he's like, hey, there's just 2 of us for dinner. And the guy's like, did you have a reservation tonight? And I was like, no, we're just like walking up. And he's like, well, you know what? We are all full up. We are just fully committed this evening. But, we do have takeout available and delivery. And we're like, yeah, no, we've gotten, okay, fine. And like, it was just that thing where we're like, we don't know anyone here. You know what I mean? It's like, I'll walk into Petty Cash at 7 p.m. on like a Friday night in Los Angeles, and they're like slammed, and they're like, guys, 2.5 minutes, we'll see you.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like, I have all the places like on lock in LA, and I just was like, this is what it is. Like, this is the fucking sign. We turn around to leave, and Mark's like, oh, look, it's Andy Cohen.
Oh.
And so I kind of like half-heartedly waved toward him, but he was like down and kind of far away, and like sort of he sort of saw me. And then I was like, I'm wearing a mask. I'm like wearing how the fuck is Andy? And then I was like, fuck this. I'm not going to let him think that I'm like a fan waving. So I normally wouldn't do this. Like, going up to people's tables is like not my vibe ever.
Yeah.
But because I felt like I couldn't let that happen.
Yeah.
Like, So I just like bolted down into like the seating section, and I'm like, Andy, hi, sorry, it's busy. And I pulled my mask down, and then reveals he's sitting with, of course, SJP, Sarah Jessica.
Of course.
Ooh.
And Amy Sedaris.
Of course.
Oh my gosh.
And so anyway, so Mark's like right behind me, and I'm just like, I'm so sorry. I'm sorry to like bust in. I just like waved it, and then I felt awkward, and then I was just like, I didn't want you to think, I'm the most awkward person of all time. And Andy's like, no, I'm so glad you came and said hi to me. Oh my God, like whatever. And Sarah Jessica, who I did that, I don't know how she does it movie with her, I think like 8 years ago.
Yeah.
Was like, oh my God, I'm so sorry. I didn't recognize you. I was like, Sarah Jessica, like, we haven't seen each other in literally like 8 years. It's fine.
Yeah.
Like, I just hi, whatever.
Yeah.
And she's like, do you know Amy? And I was like, well, we met on Kimmy Schmidt. And Amy's like, yeah. And you did the elf table read thing for us. I'm like, yeah. What was that for again? Like was it election recount chair? What the fuck did we do that for? What were we raising money for? It was the runoff election, guys.
There
in
you
Georgia.
go.
That's
There
why
you
we
go.
raised money.
Okay, yes.
And so anyways, nice to see you guys. And then Andy was like, wait. What are you doing? Did you guys like move here? I'm confused by your Instagram. Like it feels like you like moved here. And so then I told the table like the Cliff's Notes version of the story, which is like, we left LA for 3 weeks. Week 2, our friend Tina Fey called and asked me to be on this TV show, which is essentially my dream job, even though I quit acting. We ended up renting a house. We ended up getting our kids into school. And then somebody offered us cash for our house in LA when we were just going to rent it, but they just offered to buy it. We sold our house. The show was like the best job I've ever had. And now I'm like, and our kids are like thriving here and like doing so well. And so now I'm like, I guess we kind of live in New York. And the table erupted, and we're so excited about us moving here. And Sarah Jessica's like, I feel like all I've been hearing about is everybody leaving New York, but you guys moved here. I just want to say, like, I love it so much. If you need anything between the 3 of us, like, we know everything here. And it was like literally like like the mayors of the West Village, like the 3, like the 3, I don't know, like the royal family of downtown Manhattan.
Yeah.
Like welcoming us and blessing us and just saying like, you have to stay. Like they just kept going on and on and on.
Such a sign.
It felt really clear because we, just on the turn. And then of course we're like, okay, I just started giggling. I was like, this is so funny. Thank you guys. Like their food showed up. I'm like, you guys enjoy your dinner. Andy's like, are you guys eating here? You're eating here, right? And I was like, I don't know what we're doing. I just, okay. But walk. And the maitre d', when I tell you, I feel like he leapt in front of us and was like, actually, we had a cancellation. Would you like to sit?
But I will say, first off, Andy and SJP being besties knew about it. Amy Sedaris was a third I didn't see coming in that trio. Like,
Andy and Amy are really good friends. When I worked for Andy, one of my favorite things to do was to just try to find, because when you're like a celebrity, people are always giving you gifts, and like, I mean, this is gross to say, but every famous person I've ever worked for, like, it's a lot of gifts, and people are usually really generous and they pass them along because you just can't keep them all. And, but it takes a lot. I guess what I'm saying is it takes a lot to impress a famous person with a gift. And one time we had an audience member who wore a vintage Snoopy sweater to watch What Happens Live, and Andy could not stop going on and on because he loves Snoopy.
He's obsessed with Snoopy,
He's
right?
obsessed with Snoopy.
He like DM'd me when I was wearing my dad's vintage Snoopy t-shirt once, and he was like, what is that shirt? I have to have it.
He was obsessed with this sweater, and it was so funny because I kind of like half expected the guy to take off the sweater and give it to him, but he didn't. He didn't.
Good for him.
Yeah, and so like I went on this nationwide search like for a vintage Snoopy sweater for Andy for Christmas because I was like, this is what he'll really want, like more than
really
anything.
nice.
Yeah.
So I found the exact sweater for Andy, this vintage Snoopy sweater, and it was like luckily in his size, and I brought it and got it like fixed up, like made sure the seams were all good and that it was like properly cleaned and everything, and gave it to him. And like one of my favorite things is that he wore it to Amy Sedaris's Christmas party, and so there's a like really cute picture of him and Amy Sedaris in front of a Christmas tree, and I think he like tagged me in it because he was like, I'm wearing the Snoopy sweater. But yeah, they're like really close friends. And one of the highlights of working at Watch What Happens Live was when Amy would come around just to like be around her because she's just as funny behind the scenes as she, like maybe even more funny behind the scenes as she is on camera.
I mean, I've been such a huge fan of Amy since I was in high school, and like I couldn't, like, she also was just being very effusive toward me about like my acting and how funny I was in the elf table read thing. Yeah. And I was just like, Amy, you have like, I'm like, I can't handle this. Like, this is too, this is now it's too far. Now we've gone too far.
She's really kind.
So kind.
I
like,
love
the
that.
Sweetest. But we felt like our movie, like our life was a fucking movie.
Yeah.
And if you had written that in a movie, people would be like, it's too far.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But I mean, it really did feel after that, like, okay, like we were blessed. Like we got the blessing.
Yeah.
From the,
I feel like that story is, it's like you needed a sign. You needed 3 people who are the mayors of downtown New York to emphatically tell you that you've made the right call. Your story to me is another reason why I'm going to have a horrible time there.
Because you'll see SJP and she'll be like, I don't know who you are and I don't care what you're doing.
That story for me is like, I'm gonna try and eat somewhere and people will be like, no bitch, and then I'll see a bunch of celebrities in there who won't know me, and then I'll go home and write political news bits to try and make a tiny difference in the world with my dog.
You'll have some DiGiorno.
Listen, even if I want to say this, even if the story hadn't ended with the maitre d' giving us the table, I still would have left pleased with the interaction.
Oh, for sure.
Yes.
For
and
sure.
you know what? It kind of reminded me of, I was when I was in Chicago I was in Chicago, then went back to New York, and I couldn't decide. Like, I was like, I really want to go back to Chicago, but you definitely have this feeling of like, I can't go from New York to Chicago. Like, that just feels like going backwards. And also when you're young like that, there's all this pressure of like, you carve out your little hole in New York and you can't give it up.
Yeah.
But I really wanted to go to Chicago, and just as a general nicety, this guy I had babysat for his family who worked at Second City sent me a Facebook message saying, Chicago misses you, come back. And now when I look back on it, I realize he was just being nice and polite to whatever I'd sent him. But at the time I was like, he wants me to go back because he knows he knows I should work at Second City. I should go back. And like full on was like, I'm moving. I'm going Chicago. This guy says the city misses me. Yeah.
I mean, I think that you have to be careful with signs.
Yeah.
Well, you can turn
We talk
anything
about
into
that
a sign.
'cause-
Yeah.
Exactly. Anything can be a sign. On that note, I did talk to an incredible psychic this past weekend. Marcella Kroll. If you don't follow her on Instagram, highly recommend.
Ooh.
She's just incredibly insightful. But she did say that my choice to leave LA was correct and that I am protected in New York and I was not safe in LA.
Ooh, that's pretty intense.
So that's intense. And like, so between SJP and Andy Cohen and Amy Sedaris and then the psychic this past weekend, I still don't feel totally grounded, but at least for this moment, I am okay. I am going to ask Caissie if you can figure out how to send those nachos again.
Oh yeah, those petty cash. Oh
yeah.
petty so good.
Yeah.
You're the one.
I got
introduced me to
got
it.
you addicted to them, right?
Yes, you were the reason I'm obsessed with petty cash and search for it all the time.
I'm
Okay,
not gonna lie. I feel like I might be the reason why like most people are, and I do feel like they should rename those fucking nachos.
after you, yes.
Oh yeah, too busy nachos. Here's a couple ways that we can go. I think that we have a good relationship with petty cash, and they did it out of the goodness of their heart, and they only made me pay for shipping because they wanted to make you happy. Shipping nachos, it's not something that is incredibly easy, so I'm so grateful to them for doing that. But also maybe they could just instruct someone in New York, and like maybe it could be like an exchange program where they
Ooh.
tell.
I gotta tell you something. I think we should open up a franchise. Here.
Yeah.
Chelsea.
Yeah.
You and me.
Okay, I'm into it. I
There you
already
go.
need a hobby.
Yeah.
Okay, can I say something about signs? So,
Yes.
okay, so you guys know I do Celebrity Book Club. I've been reading these memoirs forever. In Rachel Dratch's memoir,
Yes.
she wrote about how she was learning about manifesting and signs or whatever, and to ask for a very specific sign.
Yeah.
If you needed, so you call it to you. So I read about this in her book, and it has that is a thing that has helped me end 2 relationships where I literally one time have been like, okay, if I'm supposed to break up with him, I want to see 2 golden petals holding a golden orb, which is like, where are you going to see that? And then I said to myself, and if we're supposed to stay together, I want to see a red ribbon. All right, that's pretty easy, right? Like I'm clearly trying to be like, we can just stay together, right? And I said, I want to see it in the next 4 months. In the next 4 months, show me a red ribbon or a golden orb. That's a long time. I went home. He was rubbing my feet on the couch, and we had a tiny little Christmas tree on top of a microwave in New York City. So it was like above, but it was a mini tree. An ornament had broken off.
No.
A gold orb ornament had broken off. And so had my petal ornament on bottom had broken. And they had smushed together. And from the angle I was at, like it was 2 petals holding a golden orb.
That's insane.
And I said, I think we need to talk. I think we need to talk. And I think if you really are intentional and purposeful with your signs and put a lot of meditation into it, I think they really work. I think if you're just walking around and just letting signs hit you in the face, then maybe we're back to astrology and, your right ovary is your dad abandoning you type science.
Yeah.
I don't know. I think that you can also not say specifically like an orb and 2 petals, although that is kind of amazing.
It's wild.
I do think I do believe in being like really specific in things that you say. And like, I always write things down too. Caissie knows this. That's like my witchery.
It's true.
Love
of
that.
like manifesting.
Yeah.
But I do feel like we were in that case last week, like we were definitely asking for a sign.
Oh, yeah.
And I feel like that whole thing, that whole exchange, the whole thing was a sign.
Oh, that was fully a sign. I was more talking about if you're like, a bird flew by, I guess we should stay.
Well, Chelsea, that year, I mean, also I think my kids could have told you a month earlier that you were going to break up with that guy.
Caissie.
Wow.
This is, You know, it's so funny because
Brutal.
Caissie came on my podcast and I introduced everyone with the story of how we first met, and I was thinking, like, is Caissie gonna go into that story? Like, I don't know, and we didn't go into it there, so it's fair to go into it here. But I went to her. I want to say lovely, lovely human, so kind. But I went to Caissie's Thanksgiving, and I brought my boyfriend at the time, and I brought my brother. Important to this story is that both my brothers are my half brothers, and my younger brother is really tall. He's like 6'3" or something. And so always when I'm with my brothers, people will assume we are a couple before they assume we're related because we're half siblings. But that said, I did have my boyfriend there with me, who was my actual boyfriend. And Caissie's sons, based on the way we were acting, thought my little brother was my boyfriend and my boyfriend was my brother.
Oh my God.
Now, can we call that a sign?
Yes.
They were saying here, to be fair, what they said was they were like, that Chelsea is amazing. She's so great. It was so nice to meet her. Both of the guys were nice too, but we could not tell who was the brother and who was the boyfriend. We couldn't get it straight all day. So based on the equal level of heat, that is not.
Well, you know what?
The sibling relationship will go on, but the romantic relationship will not.
I will say this too, and I won't say who said it, but a celebrity who I was working with. You know, I went through this breakup with that boyfriend pretty shortly after, and they were like, "Oh, are you okay?" And I was like, "Yeah, absolutely. We broke up, we cried, and then we got a pizza and watched a movie." And they went, "Jesus, was that over?" And I was like, "Oh my God, you're right." And I will say, I still think of it really successfully because I've only had really horrific things in my life, and this was just a very nice, peaceful relationship where the partying was very easy. That also was the problem of the relationship, where it was like we're just both very nice people, and if you were both nice, you can make something work for a very long time, even if it shouldn't. And so, because we're nice, you know, and so but yeah, it was like, oh yeah, if you break up and you're able to just calmly eat pizza and watch a movie, like, you probably should have broken up a long time before that, which, you know, we had tried before, but yeah, so anyways.
But that's also somebody that is just like, you know, it might not be your forever partner, but you got to kind of give it up to somebody who just wants the best for you.
And as much as I'm like, I'm so happy we broke up, and I'm so happy that it's just so wild to even think that was a possibility now in my current life, where I'm like, I can't believe I was on that trajectory. That said, same for him. This person is probably like, I can't believe I almost married that psycho witch. You know what I mean? Like, remember when I was almost going to marry that psycho witch? Like, I'm so happy for him to live his lovely life. We weren't going to get married, but you know what I mean? Like, it was just so good for both of us.
Well, everyone could almost get married.
Yeah,
you know
at
what I
any
mean?
moment.
Sure. Yeah, why not?
We don't know.
Yeah, we don't know. I don't think we definitely, God, I was at a wedding and I was sobbing, and my friend was like, this wedding's so beautiful. And I was like, this wedding is really beautiful, but I'm definitely not supposed to be with the person I'm supposed to be with. But
Oh my God.
I know. So different things hit us at different times.
Yeah.
Now knowing where I'm at now with Yasser, where it's like, oh, I can't believe I was ever gonna, do you guys ever think of that, where you're like, oh, what if I'd missed my person because I was too afraid to break up with someone, or, whatever. Like, what if I'd missed this?
I was fully entangled with somebody who was so wrong for me when I met Matthew. And I've probably said this on the podcast before, but Matt and I met auditioning to host the same radio show in college. We were like competing against each other. And then they decided to make us co-hosts. And so we had like a real Sam and Diane thing going on, because we were both like, I should be the host of this. I don't even know why we're like put together or whatever. But after a while, Matt was like, listen, I've gotten to know you a little bit. I like you. I would like to take you out, but you are with this other guy, and I wouldn't feel comfortable going behind his back, so you'd have to break up with him.
Oh my gosh.
Here's the thing. I can't guarantee that we'd ever go out more than once.
Oh
like
my
I just
God.
don't know.
Wait, I'm like
Yeah.
obsessed.
But-
what a fucking move.
But
Yeah.
also,
Break up with your boyfriend so we can go out once.
yeah, well,
Yeah.
but he was like, I can't guarantee, like
Yeah.
maybe we won't like each other. And he was like, but here's what I do think. I think either way you would be better off.
Aw, he was right.
Caissie, this is
He
such
was
a
right.
beautiful story. Because
I love it.
yeah, the best partners are the ones that like want the best for you regardless. Like even though I'm like telling funny stories, well, I don't know if they're funny, telling stories about this relationship, it's like I want the best for him, and you know what I mean. And like
Yeah.
he deserves all these great things, and it's so good we're not together. But it's like you can still be good humans to each other, which is something I didn't learn until that relationship.
I
Yeah.
think it's something that a lot of people struggle with, and they think that, you know, they get sort of wrapped up in what the bigness of emotions sometimes, and like feeling wronged or just too dramatic about things, when it's like, if you really are a person that can like sit with reality in your relationships, like sometimes things aren't as dramatic as they get made. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Like, even if somebody's like, oh my God, and my husband like had a girlfriend for, and you're like, okay, but let's just back it up. Like what's happening? Like what is happening there? And like really be truthful. Like even when there's, I don't know, even when there's, what's the word, guys? Dishonesty. Even when there's
Yeah.
dishonesty involved, I think that like you have to always check back in with yourself about what is true for you.
Yeah,
Yeah.
absolutely. And I think like for me it was definitely I've like finally matured, because to be in a relationship where like when you break up you're not like, I hope they die, you know, like that means you've picked better, you've chosen better, you know, whether
Totally.
you work out or not. If you had a peaceful breakup, like you're doing better choosing.
Well, guys, I think we did great choosing this week and choosing Chelsea to be our co-host.
Oh my gosh.
Before we get to our guest, I just want to real quick, what are you doing your best at this week, Caissie?
I gave myself a haircut, a pandemic
Great.
haircut, and I think I did a pretty good job.
It looks great.
Thank
Yeah,
you.
it does look really
Thank
cute.
you. It's a little Callista Gingrich, but you know,
I
but
disagree.
Feels like
but
a deep cut. That feels like a deep cut.
But well, you can look up a picture of Callista. I would say her hair is the best part about her. But I think that you know, I did pretty well. The only bad part is I did it with these scissors that I got from Target. I have hair cutting scissors, but I did it with these like decorative Target scissors that they're like big gold scissors like the tethered people have in Us. So they're kind of scary, but they're sharp as fuck. But they're
Ooh.
really big. So I figured like if I'm going to reach back there and cut my own hair, I put it in a little pigtail. It only works for like an angled bob. In my opinion, if you want an angled bob, you can do it yourself. If you want any
Oh, I love
other
that.
type of haircut, like maybe you got to wait until the panini's over. And here's the secret to it. So you gather your hair, and you know, I'm a DIY bitch. I would do surgery on myself if I thought I could save $50. So you gather your hair like in a ponytail down at the nape of your neck, like at your hairline. And then you get your big, extremely sharp scissors from Target. And you don't hold them perpendicular to your hair and then try to like saw through your hair. That's where people make a mistake in a self haircut. You hold them almost like parallel to your hair and you snip up into the ponytail, like 100 little snips, so that you're like adding like a little texture to your ends. And like if you have someone who can, you know, be back there and maybe help you out if you miss a few strays. I didn't happen to have someone. My husband has helped me many times in the past. But because I was by myself, I also did at one point cut the elastic band that I was using to hold my hair where it needed to be, and I did cut my hand. But those are like overall, you know, just 2 small casualties for like I think a pretty decent haircut. And now I just have to do my roots.
Looking at it right now, looks phenomenal.
Thanks. And I like saved like $60 because let's face it, I wouldn't have paid more than $60 to get this haircut if I was going to a hair salon. So there you go.
I love that. Chelsea?
Doing my best at. You know, we're currently hiring writers for the show, and I really wanted to change the way it's done and make the process more equitable. So we did a bunch of crazy things in order to do that, and I'm trying to take notes and write it down so that the system could be passed on if anyone wants it.
Caissie, did you talk to Chelsea? Did you talk to Caissie about what we did when we did our show?
We did kind of back when we were doing it. So like Chelsea was one of the people that like when I was alone in LA and just in that weird like Universal Studios office building would like come over from where she was on the lot to visit. And so we talked about the process back then. And then we talked a little bit about it when she was like endeavoring to do this.
Yeah. And when Caissie wrote that, you wrote this great article about how to be more equitable at the workplace and reading through that. And so then, now being in the place where it's like you really can have an impact. But the thing I'll say is that like we really opened up the hiring process, which also means you've created more work.
Yes.
And so it's really thinking of which is fine for me, but in terms of like other places who want to do this, do you have the budget to handle more work? How do you make being more equitable not something that's also more of a financial burden? Like how do you weigh those two things? And so that's what I'm doing my best at right now. I wish I had something else to say, but I've literally been reading packets fucking stop.
Caissie,
I have
remember
nothing else to
those
say.
binders of packets?
Yeah, just like thousands. We had
And
thousands.
I'm sure you guys got so many more submissions than we did because Jon Stewart v. me, obviously. but Jesus. I mean, and we really, like, people were like, you didn't read all of them. We're like, we read
really did.
every single one.
Oh, yeah.
If people submitted through agents, managers, Twitter, Instagram, like blindly submitted to my management company at the time.
Yeah.
Like, all of them. We read all of them. I mean, we found Shantira was Shantira through her manager?
I don't know if Shantira, I can't remember if Shantira was
I
like,
think
can't either.
Shantira was through me, you guys.
Maybe.
I think Shantira was through you, maybe
Caissie
Chelsea.
had reached out and asked for writers recommend, and I'd sent 10 names. Maybe she also came through a manager, but I remember sending Shantira's name.
You know what was really great too, and it was actually really helpful, is that a lot of people, like I reached out to a lot of people that I respected saying like, are there people that are like maybe unrepresented or that just haven't broken in yet that you think deserve to have some eyes on them? And you would be shocked at how many people had like overlapping recommendations from 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 people. And so that really helps you be like, oh, okay, let me like open my eyes to this, you know?
Yeah. I find it very, because our packet, because we're in a pandemic and people are losing their minds, our packet blew up on Twitter in a very weird way. Like kind of any moment before this, you wouldn't tweet about a job you're applying to currently.
Right, no.
You know, that's just for any job. But what came out of it is that it's very frustrating for me that there's this thing out there that packets don't get read and people only hire their friends. That absolutely was the case in the generation before. But like Busy's show is here, Caissie is here. Like there are people here who are reading every single fucking packet and really making efforts. And so it's like, I talked to people who got discouraged from applying to our show because they figured it would never be read. And it's like,
That's
I
insane.
have made every single packet got read, you know? So it's like, I wish we could get the rumor out there of like, same with the Jon Stewart show. Like I got hired off a blind packet submission.
Right.
And I thought like, oh, someone else would be reading for Jon. Jon had retired. Jon read every single packet, every single blind submission himself, and then picked mine, and I got hired. And it's like, what would I have done if I thought like, oh, there's no way?
It says a lot though. It says a lot that like you almost have to do like a little bit of psychological counseling. Like it's so weird. Like you're the head writer of this new show and you almost have to like counsel people. It's almost like therapy because so many people have sort of been burned in this process that hasn't been equitable and that has been, you know, you said it yourself, like, and Shantira said it a million times, and I certainly know it. I've done gazillions of packets and like I can count, you know, on my hands and your hands, like how many meetings I've gotten from the gazillions of packets that I've done. And it's just like, seems weird, especially when you know, you have eyes, you compare yourself to other people that are like just getting job after job, and you're like, how is this happening? Like,
Totally.
it's so weird. And it's weird. And as women, we're taught to be like, oh, well, I'm like having a huge ego. I'm thinking that I'm so much more, you know, talented or equally talented to this person that keeps getting called in. But then you just are, you know, like you just like you have to admit it. Like I just am as talented as this person. I know that I am, or I know that I'm actually further along and more evolved as a writer than this person. What's happening? And like, I'm sure something goes into it. Like people are like, oh, they're experienced and they know what this is like day to day or whatever. But like that only counts for so much. Like those are things you can be taught really quickly. That's like being taught to fold the shirts at the Gap. You know what I mean? Like you don't know how to do it on your first day, and you know how to do it by the end of your first day. So like it only accounts for so much, but it says a lot about the process in the past.
Well, I also think that there's always been a thing in entertainment, in writers' rooms, that is, you know, like that the gatekeepers have kept it exclusive by giving the impression that only a very small number of select people are even able to do it. And that and like that it's just so hard. It's so hard.
Yeah.
And that's just not true. But also one of the reasons why like those people, like they would keep hiring their friends, and those people had more experience, and so then like no one's questioning it because they had more shit on their resumes because they just kept getting the shots.
Totally.
I don't know, dudes.
Totally.
Over it.
Totally. I will say I do. It is very hard to me, but not in the way it's presented to others. Like it's so hard you can't do it. It's like, oh no, if you study, you can do it, you know?
Yeah.
And yeah, you're right. Like someone who gets in without having talent or without being a kind person or without being a good person to be around, once they're in, they keep going. That's how it works. You have experience, and so you want to get hired. But all to say is that, like, to me, that stuff inspires me. Every time I see a horrible person succeed who I know, like, you have no talent, you have no work ethic, and everyone doesn't like you, and they succeed, I go, well, if they can do it, surely I must be able to have a chance because I'm at least working hard and kind.
Right. Yeah, it's really interesting. And also, like, just for anyone out there that's aspiring, one thing that really broke my heart when we were doing Busy Tonight is that, like, you know, if we could have hired 24 writers, like a basketball team full of writers, we would have, because certainly there were more talented people available to us than we had slots for jobs. So I really did try to just get back to people and be like, you were so close, keep going. You were really in the mix. It's just when it came down to it, we were only budgeted to hire 3 writers. That was it.
We like didn't have the space.
Yeah. And you know, but you were really, really close, and I'll recommend you for other things that I hear about or whatever.
Yeah. Like there were people that we met with that like made a huge impression, and then at the end of the day, like our budget was not
so small.
Able to,
yeah.
So
I hope
small.
everyone knows that 3 writers is minuscule, and you pulled off a feat. You know what I mean? Like the late night jobs I've been on,
Chelsea.
but
People don't
that's
know.
why I'm here to tell you. I've late night staffs. I've been on much bigger staffs than that, and 3 is very small.
They all are like at least 10.
10,
I will say
11.
minimum 6, but I've been in staffs of 12, and for a TV show, staffs of 12 and 15. Like, sorry, not TV show, a narrative show.
I think it's a woman thing. When I was at the Rosie O'Donnell show, that was an hour daily show, and the show went from like, I think it had 6 writers minimum for like a huge budget show, and it went down to, in the last season, there were 2.
No. Oh my God.
And it was fine. God. It was fine. It was me and this guy, Alan Katz. We knew what we were doing and we could totally handle it by that point. But yeah, there were 2 writers. And I'm like, I feel like if a man was hosting this show, they would dig around and find a little more money for writers.
They'd find a little more money.
Yeah.
Obviously. All right. Well, what am I doing my best at this week? I don't know.
That's what I want to know.
Your nails are off the hook.
Thank you. I made them short.
They're great.
I'm trying to get all the health stuff under control. I'm just, trying to feel good.
Yeah.
I'm just taking it a day at a time is what I'm doing my best at this week. We had the pleasure of my 90s teen heart to talk to Ani DiFranco. It was very exciting for me and Caissie, but probably more me a little bit. And it was really interesting.
Yeah.
And I mean, fascinating.
Yeah.
So why don't you guys take a listen? Hey guys, you know that credit card, the one that you're afraid to look at to see what the balance is?
Yes.
Okay. Well, listen. If you've been avoiding your debt, it's time to confront it. Upstart can help you face it and finally pay it off. Upstart is the fast and easy way to get a personal loan to pay off your debt, all online. Whether it's paying off credit cards, consolidating high interest debt, or funding personal expenses, over 500,000 people have used Upstart to get a simple, fixed monthly payment. Upstart finds smarter rates with trusted partners because they assess more than just your credit score. With a 5-minute online rate check, you can see your rate up front for loans from $1,000 to $50,000. You can get approved the same day and can receive funds as fast as one business day. If debt is taking over your life, it's time to get a fresh start with Upstart. Find out how Upstart can lower your monthly payments today when you go to upstart.com/best. That's upstart.com/best. Don't forget to use our URL to let them know we sent you. Loan amounts will be determined based on your credit, income, and certain other information provided in your loan application. Go to upstart.com/best. Hey guys, listen, it might still be 32 degrees outside, but I put on a cute little spring frock today. Granted, I'm wearing long underwear under it, but you get the point. Listen, maybe you want to look at your wardrobe and see if you need to make a change for the season. Stitch Fix can help you choose new pieces that you're going to love. Stitch Fix offers clothing hand-selected by expert stylists for your unique size, style, and budget. It's a completely different and really fun way to find clothes that you're going to love to wear. Every piece is chosen for you in your fit and your life, and it's the easiest solution to finding what makes you look and feel your best. You can try on pieces at home before you buy, and then you keep what you love, and then you just return what you don't. And get this, there's no subscription required. You can try Stitch Fix once or set up an automatic delivery. You'll pay just $20 for a styling fee for each box, which gets credited towards the pieces you keep. Stitch Fix has styles and clothing to fit any occasion for women, men, and kids. They ship all over the U.S. and are available in the U.K. as well to our U.K. listeners. So get started today at stitchfix.com/best, and you're going to get 25% off when you keep everything in your fix. That's stitchfix.com/best for 25% off when you keep everything in your fix. Don't forget stitchfix.com/best. Listen, HelloFresh lets you skip those trips to the grocery store, makes home cooking easy, fun, and affordable. And that is why it's America's #1 meal kit. I genuinely enjoy HelloFresh. If you haven't tried it yet, now's your chance. HelloFresh offers 10 to 20 minute meals, low prep recipes, quick breakfasts and lunches. It's perfect for your busy schedule. With 25 plus recipes to choose from each week, there's something for everyone to enjoy. All recipes are designed and tested by professional chefs and nutritional experts to ensure deliciousness and simplicity. I've tried them all because I'm always looking for a shortcut, especially when feeding everybody in my house. And HelloFresh has been just like one of my favorite things that I have tried, and it's super easy. And if you're me and you're not great at cooking, HelloFresh makes it super easy because they like do it all for you. Basically, you just do minimal prep and then throw it together, and everybody's like, "Oh, this was good."
You are a good cook, but I will say that I feel like we're all in a rut right now where you're just like,
yes.
I mean, like, who doesn't love food? But now we're all like, oh, food again. And it's also hard to get motivated because you're like, I know there's food in the fridge, but like, I just have to like prepare it all, and it's just a lot. So just knowing that you have something there that's going to be delicious and it's already like so much of the work is already done, like it's much easier just to fire up the stove and live your best life.
Live your best life, guys. Go to HelloFresh.com/12best and use code 12best for 12 free meals, including free shipping. That's HelloFresh.com/12best and use code 12best for 12 free meals, including free shipping. HelloFresh, America's #1 meal kit. Hi, Ani DiFranco.
Hi, it's so great to meet you.
Oh my God, it is
Lovely to meet you.
It's such an honor to meet you. We are both huge fans. This is Caissie. I'm Busy Phillips.
Yeah,
And-
I love your name, Busy Phillips.
Thank you.
And I love the name of your show.
Thanks.
I like you already.
All right. Well, listen, I think we're going to get along. So Ani DiFranco, I don't even know where to start. This is like, since you don't know a lot about me, I'm just going to like make this about myself.
Perfect.
But you've had such a huge impact on my life and my career and my activism and how I use my privilege and my voice. And really, I've been listening to you all day, and I'm 10 years younger than you. So when your music was coming out, it was like at a very seminal moment in my life. And it's not hyperbolic for me to tell you that you are one of like 2, maybe 3 musicians that truly like saved me in such a deep and fundamental way as like a young woman in the 90s coming of age in that very fucking weird time. And and I can't even tell you how excited I am to be having this conversation right now.
Yay. Well, I love that. I'm glad my music could be there for you.
But also, Ani, you also like your presence as a trailblazer, as somebody who at like age 19 was like, yeah, you know what? Fuck this. I think maybe we do it the way I want to do it. And so I guess because we talk about pivots on this podcast, I guess I sort of want to like start there, which is that you obviously were super talented. You were left school when you were a kid. Like you started playing guitar in bands at like 14 or 14,
3
right?
or 4.
You were like essentially Beethoven, right?
Yeah, with equally ridiculous hair at every step.
But I guess I was thinking, because I read a thing, our kids are very similar ages. We have kids that are very similar ages. And I was reading about how you admire, like how you think Billie Eilish is just like doing it right. She's such a badass and your kid loves her. Yeah. And I was thinking like, that's so funny the way you were talking about Billie Eilish. Do you not recognize that in yourself? Or maybe that is what you recognize, you know? Because what gave you that feeling at 19, like I'm gonna eschew this thing that everybody else is doing, this path that everyone else is taking, and I'm gonna just see if I can like put this shit out by myself? What was that?
Yeah. A whole lot of attitude, I guess. and also impatience, like super impatient. Like I'm not going to wait around for the team of professionals. I just can't handle, and like trying to play the game enough to get the people in my corner with the money and the stuff and the things that help me. It's just like, I can't, I don't know. I felt like my forward momentum. I was on a mission, you know. I had a vision. And to all of that seemed like distraction, you know.
Yeah.
And the mission of like connecting. I could satisfy my mission without them. I proved it every night on stage, you know, connecting with people and that kind of connection, like you talk about, the young you that was searching for affirmation or some, like somebody to tell them what they already knew.
Right.
There's so many of us. I mean, that's every human being. You need what you already know and who you already are to be reflected in the world so that right, I exist. Right. That's not I'm not crazy. This is, I'm in a context. It just was harder for me to find it. And now, and it gives you life to see yourself reflected. I mean, I'm the same and people have done that for me. So, that like actually achieving that kind of connection was happening without the team of professionals.
Right.
So,
I'm so glad that at that young age, because you basically made your own record label at a really, really young age before it was very easy to do such a thing.
Right. Like this is for people listening who are, of a different generation. This is pre-internet, guys. Like there was no MySpace. There was no fucking Facebook.
No SoundCloud.
There was no SoundCloud. It was literally impossible what you did. And you did it and were very successful.
That's kind of one of my favorite parts of my story, as it's being whatever cemented in the world, that it was pre-internet. Just that. I think that's a subtle but really important distinction, that not only do you not need all those middlemen, even without this technology that helps you cut out all the middlemen and go from your bedroom to the world. Even without it, even before it, you didn't need it. You didn't need it. I'm here to say that, I mean, it takes a lot longer, and I certainly didn't do it alone. That's not exactly true. I had, my boyfriend and my best friend, and then and they started working with me, and we sort of built a team and associations. And over the years, Righteous Babe really turned into a thing that it is now, which is kind of a real record label. God damn it. So it was a process, and it took a long time. And I did have the help of my near and dear and my friends and people I trusted and people I thought, that were my people that got involved. But I like it that, and now it just shows that with this technology, it's that much more possible.
Right.
Yeah.
But then I guess the question is like motivation for a lot of artists, right? Because to me, if your motivation is financial gain, fame, maybe doing your own label, self-releasing, having a connection with people isn't like the avenue, right?
Right. Yeah. If you want to fast track it, definitely not.
But
if you feel like,
to be fair, Ani, your first album came out in 1990. Is that when Righteous Babe was like established?
Mm-hmm.
Okay. So in 90, I want to say like 98, 97, 98, I saw you play a huge fucking theater in Los Angeles, like where big acts play.
Mm-hmm.
It was the Mayan. Maybe it was the Mayan Theater. But like, so that's a relatively short, it's 7 years, but that's still a.
Well, I'll tell you what, I'll tell you, and only you, Busy, don't tell anybody. I actually made a record before my first record. So even before Righteous Babe was kind of a twinkle in my eye, I was definitely playing gigs, from the time I was, sort of 10. But then when I was a teenager, 14, 15, I start really playing gigs, weekly gigs, hosting open mics, in the trenches in Buffalo. And so I would say it was about a 10-year ride between starting to record and sell my tapes at my shows and being on that stage you were talking about.
That's a decade, but that's like for doing it all yourself feels.
And at that age, that is what is so striking to me about your career is just that at that age, I think about what I was thinking about when I was 14 and 15 and what I was believing I was capable of, especially independently. It's so impressive to me.
Oh, dude. But now I look out and there's like 12-year-olds in front of me. And I'm like, look at you. I had no idea at 12-year-old that I could be me. Look at you.
Well, that's what's
It's
so that was what
awesome.
was so funny about this article I was reading where you were talking about Billie Eilish. Where I was like, yeah, but you were Billie Eilish. Like
Yeah.
you're in your brain when you look back on it, you don't see it that way.
Well, I definitely know. I think that I definitely relate to her as the young Ani, the Muppet Baby Ani is like, oh, here I am again. Because I just believe her. She's just doing her, and she's doing it very authentically, and she's coming from a very unique and specific to her place, which is more and more rare, in this world, right? But I think the big difference is what we were just talking about is for her, there was a bit of an overnight success thing that happened to her. Her first record comes out, boom, she's ruling the world. That's got to be a super hard to go 0 to 60 that way. I feel like I wouldn't trade those 10 years that it took me to go from 0 to 60 because I would not have wanted to be on a world stage at 16 or whatever, like her. The fact that it was 10 years of a long, slow, really, if you were there for the whole thing like me, at every freaking
Felt slow.
Ani DiFranco show. Yeah. And watching, it was a bit excruciating sometimes because, I won't name names, but some chicks would be opening for me one day. Next day, their videos all over MTV, for those that remember what that was.
Yeah.
And, they're on the covers of every magazine, and I'm back in that same bar another year. And so, but I feel like those were very important years for helping me in the long run, just to acclimate to what that means to be a public person, to hone my craft on stage, the nights when you bomb and the nights when you say the wrong stuff and do the wrong stuff and forget the right stuff. And
But would you say, you must have, people must have approached you and you still were just very steadfast in your vision. There was no part of you that was like, well, I could just make a video and be real sexy. I'm just saying, was there ever the moment where you looked and somebody was like, yeah, why don't you bring this righteous babe over to Interscope and we'll talk? You know what I mean?
Definitely.
I'm sure that happened.
There was a lot of moments. And I had some lunches. I had some meetings. And they were good lunches. I needed food.
Always get the good lunch. Always take the lunch.
Yeah. Take the lunch. But then I could I don't know, it's hard for me to even say why I always walked away. But it was just like a sense. It was like an aroma. It was like, yeah, I don't know. I don't smell it. I'm feeling like in order to be me, I gotta go this other way.
Ani, can we make a sweatshirt that says "I don't smell it"?
I don't smell it. Yeah, it's really good.
I'm really not smelling this.
I don't smell it. But I really, Caissie and I both, I know really, really deeply to that. The unfortunate thing is for me at parts of in my career at times, I was like, I definitely don't smell this, but I have no fucking choice. I just have to do this way because I didn't see another avenue.
Yeah.
And honestly, you didn't see it either, but you just forged the way.
We all are working within different parameters. So I don't know, maybe I was kind of self-righteous in the beginning and I'm doing it better. But really everybody has to make their own choices. So I don't imagine anybody else could do it the way I did it. I have my friend Scott who went to law school and he knew the law and he knew business because his dad started a business and this and that. And he helped me construct the actual thing that became Righteous Babe Records. Again, I had other talented friends who decided to get involved. And so I had that, not everybody has that, we all, sometimes it's like, okay, I got to work the system because I don't have any other way. And so I'll try to do it my way or, there's a lot of ways to skin a cat.
Oh my God. I say that a lot. And my daughter, my
gross. It's very
youngest,
gross.
yeah, my youngest was like, why would you say that, Mom?
Why? Because Ani says it.
That's why.
Talking about all the people that sort of pitched in to be your community and help you forward. It must speak to who you were even back then, that people were like, I do smell it. And to have people be like, oh yeah, I can totally see it. I'm on board. I'm in. Did you realize at the time that that's kind of remarkable to have that ability to have that effect on people?
Yeah, I guess even at the time, it's just when I figured it out, I was a teenager, or I don't know that it was like figuring out, but when it started to happen, when I could shut up the bar, and 10 people. Okay, mind you, that was 10 people that I got to be interested for 2 minutes, but then just sort of making that connection and finding a point, like striking someone's interest, that and people immediately, I started, one of my strokes of genius pre-internet was a mailing list. It was called a mailing list at the time, and I started putting it out like whenever I played, and people would sign it. They would put their addresses on it, and then no matter where I was, I'd be playing in a coffee shop or a cafe or something. When I started driving around the country, first regionally and then coast to coast, like in a 69 Beetle with my guitar, and going and playing these very, a lot of my gigs were, in Minneapolis, you show up at this address and you're playing for tips,
Yeah.
and everybody will be eating. But I could somehow I left there with 5 names on the mailing list. And every time I would send a postcard when I went back to Minneapolis, those 5 people would show up. And there was an intense connection that started happening pretty quickly. And I did recognize that was extraordinary, even for me.
You invented data mining.
And I'm controlling all of those people. Ever since.
Well, I have to say, you are like a person, an artist, and like a visionary that I always think you're like one step ahead in your lyrics. You're always just very prescient in the things that come out. I even have to say, your autobiography came out in 2019, and it's entitled, guys, if you haven't read it, you should get it. It's entitled No Walls and the Recurring Dream. I mean, that's like what we fucking went through in 2020. Like, just the title alone was like, like, we're stuck. We're in this recurring dream. Has that just always been your life? Are you just one of those people that's always like, I say a thing, and then a year later you're like, oh, there's that thing that I said?
Well, yeah, definitely art. I mean, yeah, pretty much. That it always comes through the songs first, and often I don't know, what does that mean? What am I doing? What am I on about? And then later on, oh, yeah, I think this is what I mean. Here it is happening, or what I meant. It's, I guess I'm just trying to say, that creative process. I'm certainly not the first to notice that when you tap into consciousness, that is, we all have this ability, and probably all do it in some ways, in your dream or in your meditation, or when you're running and you get into the zone, or whatever it is that is your way of going beyond, conscious knowing and tapping into something deeper and wider. And I feel like, when it's really happening, that's what I do as a songwriter. So I feel like it often, I do feel like a sort of a canary, even in my own coal mine, like warning myself about things about me, even in the future.
So I have a question about the songwriting. I had an opportunity to talk to another songwriter that I love deeply, also, who meant a lot to me, Tori Amos. And she has a very specific way that she speaks about the way that her songs come through to her, which is like, they're these girls and they show up, and it's like,
wow,
pretty amazing.
Cool.
But you're kind of truly describing a very similar thing, which is like opening yourself up and like letting it come through. So how does that work in your process, do you prefer to do it with others, by yourself? Are you on stage? Are you in your studio? Is it all of the above?
Way alone, way alone. Like if there's anybody even in earshot, I feel inhibited. I mean, I guess I had to really learn, because it's hard sometimes to get a room of one's own to create in,
Yes.
you know? So I had to learn how to do it when the babies, you know, are busy throwing up on something else. Oh, I can jot something down. Or in the tour bus, people are having a conversation and, oh, I can go into my head, you know, do it when there's other people. But ideally for me, I'm totally, totally alone. That's when I feel the most free and unfettered.
And it kind of just, is there a way to describe it for you? Like it just sort of drops in, or you feel, or you like it comes out all at once, or is it arduous?
I mean, yeah, I feel like it's super subconscious. I mean, the most thing I would say about how does it work for me is I don't really know, because I kind
love
of
that.
come to, you know, I kind of come
Yeah.
to afterwards, and it's like, oh, here's a thing. It's always funny to me, even just the songwriters who work with, you know, the pop producer, songwriting that's a collaboration between the, you know, the know-it-alls,
Yeah.
Right.
the professionals, the team of professionals. That doesn't feel like the same thing to me, not to be a snob, but
Well, you can be
I
a
mean,
snob.
yeah, okay, I'm a
Yeah,
snob.
I feel like that's okay. I'm okay. I am both a snob and a fan, you know, of
There you
everything.
go.
Like of my,
Yeah,
you know.
right,
So
right.
I think there's
Yeah,
value in
amen
both.
to that. Yeah, I mean, I feel like one kind of collaborate, like the Billie Eilish, I'm collaborating with my brother because we understand each other
Mm-hmm.
beyond words, and we have this creative synergy, and there's a, like, that I get as a really primal thing happening. But when you're working with sort of more, let me translate you and make a product out of, you know,
yeah.
thing, like, that seems fundamentally different. I feel like
Or have you ever written for other people?
a little bit.
Does
Not
it happen
much.
in the same way?
Well, gosh, I haven't done it enough. I mean, I think I'd love to do it more. If anybody wants my help with something, I'll let you guys know. You heard it here first. People always think, oh, Ani's in her own planet. She doesn't need us. She doesn't want to hear from us. But I do. I'm lonely.
Ani, we're
Yeah,
all lonely right now. Like
Yeah,
I'll
right.
write you a fucking song. You know what I mean?
Yay! Seriously, everyone on their own planet now. I mean, I haven't done it much, but I guess I try to the little bits that I have, you know, I try to invoke what I do, that kind of riffing thing, but stick with the person's energy and intentions. Like what would they want to express, and what fits them, and what do I have in me that I could sort of method act the
Yeah.
role
Oh,
of
that's
them.
Because
interesting.
that's
Yeah.
it is really interesting to me, like in thinking about how, I mean, and also you're incredibly prolific, I think, as a songwriter, and your songs are, I mean, you have some of my favorite lyrics of all time, which we won't go over right now because that would be probably bad podcasting. But things that, like, I just, to this day, I'm like, what the fuck? That's the greatest line of all time. But I do wonder if, like, those people who are songwriters by trade, who are writing songs in the machine, if there is an element of, like, I gotta channel this person's thing, because
sure.
I'd love an Ani song for Beyonce. You know what I mean? Like,
Ooh.
I'd love you to do, like, your version for Lizzo or for some, you know, I'd love to see that. Like,
Oh man, I love to see anything Lizzo.
the best.
Yeah, I just
We love
love her
her.
to say my name.
She's the best.
Just point in my direction.
She's the fucking greatest.
She is
Yeah.
the best. Well, you know what's interesting? I wanted to bring this up, and this might be a wild thing, but you're talking about how you write a song and you get into a state of flow and you almost come to, and then how those ideas, like a year later, you see them sort of like popping up, like blooming in the world. But I would like to also posit that I hear the influence of your music in so many places. I hear it in Hamilton. Like the first time I heard Hamilton, I was like, that's Ani DiFranco to me, you know? So
Yes.
do you ever feel that? Do you ever listen to someone and you're like, oh, I believe that person listened to me?
Oh, well, it's hard. It's hard to know. Sometimes I do. Yeah, sometimes I do. Again, here I am again with the smell. Yeah, I can smell a little aroma, like, oh, those flies buzzing in your verse. Are those the flies from my kitchen? Because I think, yeah, there's little, yes, but I would never guess to know. I mean, it's so hard. I think I don't envy music critics to try to parse it all out. You know, where does this person come from? What are they made of? Often we don't know ourselves, right?
That is true.
Right. Well, that's what you're saying too. And for you, your new album, which I love, and I loved the song Do or Die, which came out right before the election. It really was a do or die situation.
Yes.
Whew.
Yeah, a moment of exhale.
I mean, it still is fucking bonkers, right? Like, I do feel like we're all kind of coming to from. My dog is really scratching. Can you hear her? Should I let her in?
You let her in.
Just hold on. So sorry.
No, it'll be me next.
I don't know about you, but it's been a minute since I've cleaned my brushes and sponges. But luckily, I have Birchbox. Birchbox is a service that exists to simplify all the beauty and grooming product options out there for you. Every month, Birchbox experts select 5 deluxe size samples tailored to your unique beauty profile. Put together a cheat sheet that tells you what to use each product for and how, and they wrap it all up in a beautifully designed box. You can test drive the products out at your own pace on your own terms. And when you find something you like, you can buy the full size on birchbox.com and you earn loyalty points doing it. And if something's not for you, you haven't had to spend a ton of time or money or effort finding that out. Because you just use the sample and you're like, I didn't like that. I'm not going to buy the full size.
That's such a relief. I hate
it. Me too. I hate it. I hate buying a full product. Because then also, like, even though some of those places are like, you can return it, but I always feel like guilty. I don't know.
Yeah. And like you want to give it to a friend, but you're like, it's kind of gross because I already used it 2 times.
Yes.
And then it just sits there. It's just like sits there and is like the physical manifestation of guilt in your drawer.
And it mocks you.
Yeah.
It mocks you. Okay. Well, no longer. Join the Birchbox community today by heading over to birchbox.com/best and use promo code BEST to get 50% off your first box when you subscribe for at least 3 months. That's promo code BEST at birchbox.com/best for 50% off your first Birchbox. Birchbox.com/best, promo code BEST. Who says taking care of yourself needs to be so hard? That's where Caliper comes in. Caliper believes everyone deserves a simple way to feel better. Unlike CBD oils, Caliper CBD powder is completely tasteless and mixes easily into any food or drink or smoothie. No weird taste, no oily residue or mouth feel. There are precisely 20 milligrams in each packet of Caliper CBD, so you don't have to question how much you're taking. I like to take the CBD at night. Feel like it helps me with my winding down and recovery.
Yeah. I put it in my coffee in the morning.
Oh, really?
Yeah, because I know that I can't count on anything throughout the day, but I know that no matter what, I'm having coffee. So it just goes right in there. Easy peasy, done.
All right. Caliper CBD comes in affordable 30 and 60 count packs. Individual packets give you the benefits of CBD wherever you go. Unlike some products out there, Caliper is completely THC free. All the goodness of CBD, no high, all natural, non-GMO ingredients, no fillers, added chemicals, or artificial flavors. Get 20% off your first order when you use promo code BUSY at trycaliper.com/busy. You can try Caliper CBD risk-free for 30 days. If you don't love it, they're going to give you a full refund. That's trycaliper.com/busy. Don't forget to put the promo code BUSY in for 20% off your first order. I used my Athena Club razor this morning when I was getting my armpits ready to go have my breast biopsy. So, you know it's a clean shave if I'm willing to show the radiologist and the biopsy person.
Athena Club was really there for you this morning.
Really was. She really was the Athena Club razor. I love it. I look forward to using that Athena Club razor. It's expertly designed with the sharpest patented blades on the market. It's super cute. I have like a peach one. I love it.
I have blue.
The one-of-a-kind blades are enhanced with a revolutionary water-activated serum that has shea butter and hyaluronic acid for a skin-soothing shave with maximum hydration. The best part to me is that the razor kit is only $9, which includes 2 5-blade razor heads, your choice of a razor handle color, and a magnetic holder for easy storage. We get our new blades shipped regularly, so we never run out. Athena Club has a bunch of other self-care essentials like natural deodorant, body lotion, dewy body lotion, face wipes. I love the Cloud Shave Foam. Anyway, for the smoothest, closest shave all year long, do what I did and switch to Athena Club. Sign up today and you're going to get 20% off your first order. Just go to athenaclub.com and use promo code BEST. That's ATHENACLUB.com with promo code BEST for 20% off.
Yes, come pooch.
She's right
my
here.
pooch. My pooch has been on most interviews with me too.
Okay, so now that my beautiful little puppy is here, I feel like one thing that, speaking of do or die, and you're like very clear the weaving of your social activism and being political throughout your entire career. This isn't like Ani DiFranco, guys. Again, if you aren't a fan, I don't know why you're listening to my podcast to begin with, but already. But if you're not super familiar, from the moment you showed up, you were like, this is who I am. This is what I stand for. This is my art. And these things are not, they're not separate entities. They are like one, right?
Yeah.
And was it ever a concern to you that would be polarizing and that you would lose out?
Geez. Of all of my concerns, that was not one. Seriously.
Yeah.
I mean, yeah. And I got a lot of flack for sure in the beginning. Holy cow. Just writing female songs from my experience, and which includes being dicked around by, or the power plays of, gender power plays and all kinds of experiences that are inherently female. It was crazy. It was crazy in the early mid 90s how much I was an angry woman and I was a man hater. I was really sort of caricaturized and pushed. I was some kind of extremely angry, militant, blah, blah, just, I think, for just talking about what it's like to be a girl.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But none of that pushback ever hurt. Ever. I mean, that's a lie. It did. It hurt and it was hard, but it was nothing compared with the affirmation. It would all disappear in an instant when some chick would come up to me and say, "Oh my God, thank you."
Right.
And tears would come to her eyes, and that would be that. All the pushback was worth it.
I mean, was that like part of the impetus behind writing a song like Joyful Girl, where you're like, hey, guess what?
Yeah, yeah. It's funny. A dear friend texted me recently, and he said, "Back when you were a joyful girl, they were all like, 'Why are you so angry?' And now that you're a love bomb, they're like, what did you lose your edge or something?"
Right.
Like,
Well, what is that? Yeah, as a woman in any industry, what do you do with that thing where you're like, I'll never be able to be the things that you want me to be, guys?
mm. Well, I mean, I do feel like have been a part of the opening up of all kinds of marginalized people. I mean, females being one, or queers, or people of different hues, and all kinds of ways that we are cast aside and that our voice is turned down. And um there's a lot of really, it's like righteous rage, righteous outrage
Right.
about it all. And I feel like there's a lot more room in society. There's more overall, more and more recognition that many people are carrying so much weight. They're
Mhm.
carrying all the weight, and that it's hard to, yeah. And sometimes you do just want to lose your mind. You do just lose your mind at the unfairness of it all. And I think that, there are people, of course, who experience way more unfairness than I. And somebody, but even like a rich white dude can feel with other people.
Mhm.
Everybody has the capacity to be outraged at how
Right.
fucked up it all is. And so I feel like there is more tolerance, especially, I mean, I got to give it to the Cheeto.
Ugh.
God rest his soul. I have a friend who described him as he who awakens us, which I really dig. It's like, okay, I think I noticed from my vantage point, Busy, it's like since he was elected, I have never been so hopeful.
Yes.
Because it's like suddenly I can drop the P word. I can say patriarchy in polite conversation, and people don't just run.
Right.
They actually,
Well-
maybe we should talk about this.
I mean, even the word
Thank you, Cheeto.
even the word feminist,
Yeah.
it has all of a sudden ceased to be a dirty word.
Right.
I remember when declaring oneself a feminist was like not the thing that people wanted to hear, and they would say,
Right.
it
So
and-
you want to die alone?
yeah,
Is that what you're saying?
exactly. Oh, you hate men, like, but now it's like since the 2016, I think there's been a lot of improvement.
Yeah.
in
Yeah.
owning
And people,
that.
right, pull stuff out of the shadows, you put it in the light, and then it's like, oh, I guess we should talk about it. Yes.
We're just
Sorry.
reminded of the coining of the phrase feminazi by Rush Limbaugh, who just left us,
Oh.
and like how he was able to popularize that term.
Yeah.
And I was just saying recently that I'm kind of sad about having come of age in the 90s, because I feel like there was this weird pushback where people just went around saying feminazi, and like it was not only acceptable but also like kind of funny. And I think it was just like really fucking confusing, as
being
a girl.
woman
Yeah.
was confusing,
Yeah.
right? Like,
Yeah.
because we were like given the images of Monica Lewinsky and like Amy Fisher, the Long Island Lolita, and Lorena Bobbitt, who was an abused woman who like reached her breaking point and was made the fucking punchline of a joke for years. And then at the same time, but like, God forbid you want to stand up for yourself, or God forbid you want to say these things. Like, it was very confusing.
I mean,
very fucking
yes.
confusing.
It was absolutely confusing, deliberately, geniusly made to be confusing. I mean, that was when the sort of right-wing think tanks realized if you control the language, you control thought, And if you take the only word in the English language that means women should have rights and opportunities equal to men, and you demonize it, if people can't even say it, they can't be it. They
Right.
can't, you know, and it's very powerful to mind meld people in that way, you know, controlling language, which is something I feel like I was aware of even before I had words for it, language for it, you know, like taking the back, take it back, you know, this is, and I've been sort of out there fist pumping with the word feminism for a long
Yeah.
time. Like,
Yeah.
why are all you women who obviously want to be free, who obviously want to be self-realized people, why don't you call yourself feminist? Look it up. This is what it means. Tell me why.
What's bad about that? Yeah, and you were never a hypocrite. I guess that's what makes me hopeful about 2021 is that I feel like people are finally starting to call out the hypocrisy, and in particular the way that all people of color and women are treated, where you can't do anything right. Like, you should protest peacefully, but then you're going to get fired, and you should speak nicely, but then that means you're a doormat, and you should speak forcefully, but then that means you're a bitch. And I think this is the first time in my lifetime I've seen people say, no, like, you can't have it both ways. You're being hypocritical. And so that's what I found so confusing. But you never were a hypocrite. You were always like, this is who I am,
Yeah.
which was brave.
Yeah, well, you know, yeah, all that stuff that you just described, it's one person, it's one type of person dictating all that, all the perspective, all the language. Here's how you are perceived when it's one type of person deciding all that. But you can look around you now and you can see other voices are coming to the table. You know, Shirley Chisholm, people were talking about her recently with our new vice president, with this like super radical, incredible African-American woman in politics, in Congress, way before that was even possible. And she had this great saying, if they don't give you a seat at the table, bring a folding chair.
Right.
You just,
Yeah.
you keep putting your voice in, you keep speaking up. And now, I mean, it's palpable for me. It's like I've been on this planet so long now, and I look around and holy cow, you can see the difference. You can smell it. It's not the male gaze.
Right.
Or it's white gaze. It's not, you can see culture and media and you know, artistic expressions coming from other perspectives, real indigenous to other perspectives, and they can blow apart all that logic of, you know, the control group.
Yeah.
The control group, which
The
is
control
just,
group.
that is truly what it is. Yeah, it's fucking wild.
When you were talking, Caissie, I was thinking, I think one of the radical things about the way I wrote when I started writing songs that was palpable but hard to put into words is that not only was I speaking from another perspective, I wasn't even talking back to them. I wrote a lot of songs, you know, like my fella said the other day, yeah, like everyone harbors a secret hatred for the prettiest girl in the room. I think the most extraordinary thing looking back on that line is I'm singing to women. It's not even, I'm not performing for the male
Yes.
gaze. I'm not reacting to the male gaze. I'm not engaging the male gaze. I'm speaking and to a whole other place
Yeah.
than the control group.
Yeah. That's one of the reasons that I think your music is so meaningful to Busy and me,
Yes.
is because all we've been doing since we've been like friends and working together is asking just to make a thing that's mainly for us. You know what I mean? Like,
Yeah.
like if other people want to watch it, that's okay. You know, we made a TV show together, and if guys want to watch it, that's great. But it's mostly for us, because people aren't doing that, you know? And what I
Right.
always say
Yeah.
is like, I'm not asking to take over the entertainment industry. I just want as many chances to fuck up as every guy I know has ever fucked up. You know what I mean? Like, I want the opportunity to be as mediocre as all of my guy friends, if that's what I'm going to do with my chances.
Yeah.
You could never be mediocre, Caissie, because
That's very sweet.
just the given is that you're already entering the room with way more than mediocrity. It's so
That's
funny,
very kind.
Ani.
Yeah.
Tonight, I said a line from that same song now I'm just going to tell you. One of my favorite lines is imagine you're a girl just trying to finally come clean, knowing full well they prefer you were dirty and smiling. That is like that's written on the inside of my brain since high school. And for me, like when I released my autobiography several years ago, when I testified before Congress about my abortion, when I talked about my abortion on our late night talk show, that's the fucking thing, right? It's like, why can't you just be sweet and smile and like grin and bear it, honey? Like, why do you have to show up and give us this? And my feeling is like, because I don't need to fucking hold this shit anymore. Because Ani DiFranco told me in 1996 that I didn't have to. And it has taken me almost 30 years, but bitch, I'm here. So, no, but that is like truly incredible and speaks directly. I said it to my husband, Mark, and I'm like, this isn't for you. Like, you know, it's just like, I'm sorry. I don't know why I even, it's not for you, Mark. Like, this is for me. You don't know what that feeling is.
Yeah.
You know, he doesn't.
Yeah. Yeah. And just,
there's nothing. It's just like,
yeah, no, amen to all of that. And just like standing up in a moment and ruining chances for something, you know, I mean, you wouldn't do that, all those things that you were talking about, unless you understood that you have a connection, you have a natural allyship with other women, and that it's like we all fly or none of us fly, you know.
Right.
well, that's the fucking truth.
And how many people are like you that are willing to sacrifice their own whatever in the moment to be accountable to something bigger? It's a hard choice to make in the moment, but I feel like every time, do you agree, Busy, that every time you make one of those choices, it gets easier?
Yes.
It's like, yeah, right?
Yes.
You just start doing it, and lo and behold, you still exist. And in fact, life gets better.
Yes.
Not worse.
Yes.
You meet all the cool people by going that way.
Yeah. That's where all the good people are.
Right?
Yes.
Yeah.
How do you instill that in your kids as a parent? You personally?
I mean, I figure it doesn't matter what I say to my kids. And I don't hold myself to getting it right all the time. It just really matters who I am and what I feel.
Right.
You know, they know what I feel, right? So if I show them that something unfamiliar is interesting and you move towards it because it's going to be really exciting and you're going to learn something, which I really deeply feel inside me, and I feel blessed because my mother showed me that. You know, she didn't say, you should not be afraid of the unknown. You know, she leaned in when there was something unfamiliar. And that, I think, has been the great blessing of my life. So I try to just show them the version of me that is like really psyched here and really can't wait to get up and learn some more shit from some people I can't even fathom.
Do they think you're cool? Because my kids really don't think I'm cool at all.
Yeah, no, I don't know. I think that's right. They can't possibly cool.
I think in 4 years, your kids are going to think you're cool. My kids think I'm really cool.
Oh, good.
I mean,
That's
you
good.
have boys.
Yeah,
Caissie,
that's true.
and
It's true.
I mean,
Right. That, girls, nobody wants to look in a mirror. Mirrors are fundamentally uncool.
Well,
so,
yeah.
right.
Yeah.
Birdie's
Good luck,
also
Busy.
my older kid prefers they them pronouns, is gay and out, and it's wild. I was talking to them about my interview with you and like explaining who you are to Birdie, and I was like, Birdie, like Ani was essentially like the first openly bisexual like woman who was out like in music in that way. The label queer, this is the thing my kid never understands, that like the label queer is relatively new. You know what I mean? It didn't really, it wasn't really a thing in like the early 90s.
Yeah, I mean, I was rocking it. I've always loved it because it's so open, like not conforming to not the standard, but beyond that, it's just different.
You know, I've been learning a lot in the past few years with Birdie as my child. Is that like really just eliminating the he, she, like the binary altogether is kind of the move in a way. And it was a thing as like, you know, a cisgender white feminist girl growing up. That wasn't a part of my scope of knowledge or understanding. Well, you only know what you know, guys, and then you got to learn more.
I've just been learning to take like so much sexuality out of everything because like even as like a heterosexual woman, I'm not a heterosexual woman for everyone. You know what I mean? Like I'm just like it's just sex is only between you and however many people you're having sex with or having feelings for. You know?
I like that.
Heterosexual is such a big umbrella term, but I'm like, well, I'm really only heterosexual for like a handful of people at most.
I mean, now you're getting into, I think, really exciting territory, which is, can we just get off the identity train?
Yeah.
Stop everybody being so concerned with what I am. This is what I am. Because I think the deeper truth about human beings is this moment. This is me in this moment.
Right.
I'm a changing, fluid, growing thing. I mean, I think identity politics has been a useful tool, you know, to you know, bring out onto the table the fact that certain identities are elevated above others, certain are in control, others are da-da-da. But after doing all this work for so many decades of inclusion and diversity and, you know, trying to, like, I wonder if we can start to look at all of our identities as constructions and bring some more fluidity back into it. Yeah, the masculine and feminine, that's a new game, right? Like, maybe it depends on the day. And I think everything is that way, really.
We've said it many times on this podcast. Gender is a construct.
Gender is a construct.
Everything is fake.
Right? Your kids, my kids, our kids are changing the game and changing the language and opening it up and pushing envelopes. That's awesome. And I think that's something that came through my songs, is just a lot of different things came through. But other young women saying, there's an aspect of my life that I find here in this music that I just can't, and a reality of my difference and of my secret oppression, you know, that is recognized in this work. And so it's like, okay, I'm not crazy. I'm a round peg in a square hole in this world. And I wake up every day and think, is it me? Because this seems off, you know?
Yeah.
And all of those things. And so I think we need to continue to move towards awareness of patriarchy, even while blowing open the gender constructs.
Yeah. So when you were writing these songs that you know you're writing from your own personal experience as a young woman, were you feeling like I'm the only person in the world that feels this way, or were you confident that other people would see themselves? Because I know that in my writing, often I'm putting something out where I'm like, I must be the only person in the world that feels this way. And then it feels so good to me when people come back and say, oh no, exact same thing. So I'm curious if you were always confident that there were other girls and women like you, or were you surprised to hear?
I was surprised, but I was 17.
Yeah.
And the minute it started happening, the minute I sort of opened my mouth and started singing from my experience, there was somebody there to go, yeah, me too. I can't tell you how many times I heard the word me too, you know, over those decades. So instantly the affirmation was there. Oh, I'm not alone. You know, it instantly came back to me.
Yeah. Incredible. That's incredible.
Yeah, super beautiful. I mean, it made me. I was like you guys. I was in the process of just trying to do what felt right for me, and just trying to heal myself in some very personal way. And then when I started to connect to other people, it gave me a place to be in the world.
Yeah.
It worked for me too, you know. When you put yourself out there and you find you're not alone, we're all less alone.
Yes.
It's also the thing that I think a lot of times people shy away from, or prevents them from like breaking through, whether it's in art or I don't even know, like just in real life or just with interpersonal connections, is the truth, like is the reality of yourself. And like a lot of people want to put up a lot of other things that they wish they were, that they think of, you know, having the ability to kind of like strip it all away and lay it very bare and really honestly very beautifully said, but like in many ways very simply is what is the thing that allows the connection, I think. And I think sometimes, especially with social media now, people get very confused about what they think like an authentic expression is. You know what I mean? And so they're like playing at an authentic expression, but really are like, that doesn't ring true because it's not coming from your person, like from your actual core.
Yeah, I do imagine for young people, it is, I mean, I do not envy them. But coming up in this age of social media, I actually can't imagine being me at 20 now.
Right.
You know, when everything you say lives forever and is judged by the world. What a situation to try to become yourself and make mistakes and say one thing one day and another thing the other day and just be growing and changing and you know, make mistakes, which is the most important part of growing. I don't know how you have the bravery to do it in this type of culture, in this moment. And when everything is a performance, like people are performing their everyday lives, wow, that's a lot. That's a lot of self-awareness. I mean, I think for me, I feel lucky now to have been doing that and all pimply and metaphorically and literally when it wasn't living forever and judged by everyone.
Right.
But I think most people lack self-awareness now.
Yeah.
I think you had like a great deal of self-awareness. I think the people that are sort of able to connect even through this weird time or whatever have a great deal of self-awareness. I just think that the people that come off phony are the ones that kind of don't.
Are lost in the performance.
Right.
Yeah.
Like if you're aware of what you're doing always in a way.
Right.
And it's
right.
I don't know. I
agree with you. And I think it would be really easy to get lost in it now as a young person.
You
For
let your
sure.
kids have social media?
Yeah, my 14-year-old, for real, I
Obviously.
don't know the world she lives in. I have no idea what world she lives in. Every now and then she appears in the kitchen when she's usually chewing, but sometimes she'll speak to me and tell me about her world. Wow.
What's
Terrifying.
the pandemic been like? I mean, first of all, releasing an album. This is the first time I would imagine in your 30-year career that you're not touring to support an album.
Yeah.
So what are you doing? This is a pivot.
Crazy. Yeah. I mean, for me, it's such a blessing. I mean, of course, there's financial ruin involved and all sorts of things, you know, I'm trying to be funny, but, you know, but for me, the blessing of being home for a whole year that's never happened. Having 2 kids and leaving them behind with my partner and the strain on every relationship in every direction is just, you know, just so hard and actually bringing me and my to the brink. And so I'm so grateful. because like my 14-year-old, like I was just talking about, I have to just kind of be around.
Right.
And I have to stay up late like I do because she'll come down into the kitchen and she'll tell me about her world. But if I'm not around to catch it, you can't just come off to her and say, okay, it's mom and daughter day. And now go.
Yeah.
It's
Right.
you just have to be here. And so finally I am given permission.
Yeah.
Well, that's incredible.
Yeah, a little bit of a
It's
little
great.
bit of a silver lining to a disastrous year.
So yeah, and I love my job.
Yeah.
I love traveling. I love playing music. I love all of it. But this is like my dream come true.
Yeah. Because they have to stay there with you. They
Right.
don't even have a
They
choice.
have no
Yeah.
choice.
Right. My 14-year-old is talking to me. She can't talk to anybody else.
She's
Perfect.
stuck.
Yes.
Well, I love the new album so much, and I've been playing it since it came
Yay.
out in December, right? Is that right? What is
yeah.
time, Ani? What is
Yeah.
time?
Yeah. An illusion.
And it's an illusion. Turns out we didn't know,
Yeah.
but it was.
Yeah.
And I feel like I know that. So I started acting professionally when I was 19 years old. So I was, kind of, I guess, the same age as you. when
There
I
you
started,
go.
when I was became a professional person, right?
Yeah.
I look back on things. This TV show that I was on is now when I was 19 is now streaming, and my kids and I watched it the other day, and I had
Wow.
it was a real mind fuck moment. Let me just tell you. And I was couldn't believe it was me. It tripped
Yeah.
me out. And my memory of the thing is so different than what I saw. And
Oh, wow.
so as you look back 30 years ago to your album and the things you were saying and the songs you were singing, do you feel like it's someone else? Do you know her?
Oh, yeah.
Are you just
No. No, exactly like you. Who I don't, and often no memory whatsoever. I'll put on a record and it's like I've never heard it before, but I made it,
Stop it.
Seriously, holy shit. Oh, that's cool. Whoa, what about that? Wow.
I was going to ask, do you say, is it
no.
good? Do you listen to it and you're holy shit, this is good?
No, okay, well, first of all, I don't put on my records. That's not a thing I do.
Have you made your kids listen? Because
It's just a
people think
theory.
it's weird that I made my kids.
I want to know what they said. I want to know what they were like.
Birdie,
Did they see you?
yeah,
Or did they
Birdie
see a
was
whole other?
no. Birdie was like, your voice is so different. You don't talk like that. That's so weird.
Yeah, right.
They were just they liked the show, but they thought it was weird that it was me. And
yeah,
and they're just that's not you. That's some other
Right.
person too.
right. So they agreed with you. They
Yes.
saw what you saw.
Yeah.
right. Which
But-
is a person whose identity was temporal and who is a whole
Ooh.
other thing now.
That's
Who has
it.
just- Whatever you thought you were, it was that moment.
That's fucking it, Ani. That's the whole thing. It's just temporal.
Yeah.
Whatever you think you are right now, it's just wait.
Yeah.
20 fucking
I mean,
years.
you can keep going and going and going with that, right?
Yeah.
It's like,
Yes.
who are you? Who is the spirit inside you that ignites that form? I mean, there's no name for that being. But that is you.
Right.
And every we wear along the way is just what we're.
I've been with my husband since I was 18, and I always tell him, you've been married to so many different people.
Yeah,
thank goodness you've liked them all and loved them all. But I've been 7 to 10 different people since I met that guy.
Well, thank goodness
Yeah.
you liked all of his.
That's cool.
you know.
It's true. It's true.
Yeah. No, right. Yeah. You'd hate to find out that 3 years ago you were nailing it.
3 years ago was my favorite, Caissie.
Yeah.
Okay, Ani, we're gonna let you go back to your family, and we've taken you for too long, but I know that Caissie has been dying to ask you about working with Prince, and I can see it in your face, Caissie. You've been holding it in such a good.
Yes. Yes.
Prince is her
First
number
half.
one
My number
favorite
one.
husband
Oh.
of all time.
Oh, represent. Yes. Oh my gosh. Where there's no words. I mean, he was superhuman. He was a superhuman creature. It was just apparent. Yeah, obviously.
Yeah.
I don't have to, but to be up close, it just didn't change. It just got more vivid. It was just, it's a very rare being, obviously, where it's sort of like you could just, any moment that you're looking at him could be a poster that you hang on your wall. There's just no bad shot,
No,
and
yeah.
there's no off moment. There's just a super vivid, iconic thing happening at all times. I mean, I had my first hang with him was at Paisley Park. I was just telling some friends the other night because they were talking about their tour of Paisley Park, posthumous, after now it's a museum. And I was like, and they were saying, have you ever been to Paisley Park? And I was like, yeah, I have one time. And, he invites me to play on his record. It's completely insane. I show up with my cheap ass guitar, and he wants me to play on a solo piano ballad, and I'm pooping in my pants, and I don't know what the key of G is to save my life. And somehow I got through it. And then the best part about that evening was then we were like, let's jam, and so it's Maceo Parker, another just iconic musician, Larry Graham, these Prince, and then like some of Prince's band that he was working with in the musicology era. And these dudes show up and they're just badasses to the one and me, and watching Prince jump from instrument to instrument and be completely vivid and iconic no matter what he touched.
Yeah.
It's like sitting at the drums, like, oh shit, behind keyboard, whoa, shit, guitar, bass, whatever, basketball, oh shit, just.
Oh my gosh, I love that. This is a game I can play all day. I love to just think about Prince and his life. Like exactly what you were saying is so genius, because I like to think of like, he must have had a moment in his life when he was cooler than he ever had been and cooler than he ever would be again. What is that moment? And then I try to find a photo of it, but it's impossible. It's impossible to know, but it's a fun game for me.
Yeah, really. I love it. Keep it up. Keep playing.
That's
Everyone's
amazing.
a winner with that game.
I was actually not going to ask about Prince because I get a little weird about it and I talk about him on every podcast. So thank you so much for generously telling me your story of him because it means a lot to me.
Thanks for saying his name and keeping his spirit in the air. It's a beautiful, beautiful thing.
It really is. We love him, but Caissie loves him the most, guys.
A
Let's be real.
lot. Yeah.
Well, Ani, what's going to happen next? Tell us. You know the future.
Well, I mean, I don't know. Me, I'm hot and heavy with Righteous Babe Radio now. Making
amazing.
Free internet streaming radio, a lot of programming, working on a lot of that shit.
Wait, how do people get it?
Oh, I mean, you could go to the righteousbabe.com website
Okay.
and there's a radio page and we even have a little app. But all the app does is just you can hit play on the station and see what kind of craziness we're putting out there.
I love that.
Given moment, and I'm working on a children's book.
Amazing.
That's kind of hard, crazy. It's a different brain, muscle,
Yes.
everything.
Yeah.
you
Yes.
know?
Yeah.
I'm searching for it in my body.
Is
I
it
love it.
is it a picture book or like a early reader? What is it?
I'm actually toying with a couple different things right now. It was the publisher who released my memoir, and they said, "Hey, did you ever consider young readers?" And I was like, "Okay, it's a
excellent.
pandemic. I'm considering a lot of things."
That's excellent.
That's a
You know,
major
working-
pivot. Yeah.
Yeah. Also working on a musical
You are.
that came out of this prison music project record that I did that was all songs written by people in prison.
Yeah.
Wow.
And one of the people that I met through this project has this unbelievable story of restorative justice, which is something I believe in very deeply and hope can grow in this country. It's like
Yeah.
a whole other idea of justice system
Yeah.
than the one that we have. So he has this experience of 10 years after his crime coming together with the survivor and the transformation. I mean, it's a story that I think holds the template for our whole society. Like after relationships super breakdown, after violence that is unforgivable, after everything has gone to hell, what next?
Yeah.
Oh my God.
What do you do? How do you come back together? How do you forgive? How do you transcend? Anyway, so this story where he's a bunch of prison music project, people and the person himself, Lester, are busy. We're writing the play right now. We're
Holy
gonna make it
cow.
hopefully a musical about some very heavy stuff.
Yeah.
But it's just such an extraordinary story. So there's that going on. too.
That sounds incredible. When you're ready for investors, I'm here.
All right.
I don't know if there's a part for me, but I definitely would love to help in any way. Okay, so Ani DiFranco, you start a record label at 19. You have, I don't know, how many albums? 25, 30, 40, 45, 22 albums.
22.
Several books. And now you're like, and I'm going to do a kid's book and I'm going to do a musical based on this incredible idea and collaboration with others and lift their voices. And I mean, honestly, I can't wait to see what's going to happen in the next 10 years. I don't know.
Yeah.
5, 4. What's time? A construct.
Yeah,
like gender.
what is time?
It's nothing.
Well, thanks, babe. Thanks for giving my art a place to go
Oh my gosh.
in this world.
I mean, I love it. I love it.
Whatever you
love
got
it.
for us.
Whatever you got for us, we'll
Cool.
take it. And it was so great to talk to you, and thank you for sharing with
Nice
us.
to talk
and-
to you,
yeah.
too.
So nice to meet
Yeah.
you. Thanks for hanging out.
Likewise. Thanks.
That's a lot. Okay.
Yeah.
All right.
It was so good.
Thank
Bye.
you, Ani.
So nice.
Super
Thank
fun.
you.
Thank you.
Bye. Bye.
Bye.
We're back. It was exciting.
That was exciting. You
Wait.
know what was interesting? I knew that I admired Ani DiFranco as an artist so much, but what was exciting about that for me is that I really liked her as a person.
Yeah,
Oh, that's
I
such
agree.
a win.
I agree. And I also think like I feel like, listen, Caissie and I have had a lot of experience being sort of like burned by the man. Like
Throw me
Like
in the
try-
ring there. Yeah.
sure. Like trying to like work for other people and just getting like fucked by them and lied to and just also just like information withheld and all that stuff. And I think that that's so empowering to hear a story of a woman who from the jump was like, I know this seems impossible, but I'm just going to do this all my own because what I want to do, I should be able to handle this. And like not being motivated by, the idea that in order to be successful or make a ton of money, she needed like a system around her to support her. And in fact, at the end of the day, the one that ended up like being the most supportive and giving her all the success was truly herself and the people closest to her that she hired in her own company. And I feel like it's really hard in entertainment. And it was what Caissie and I were trying to do pre-pandemic. We were trying to put together our own projects sort of independently with like a whole different sort of method of doing things. And I feel like we keep sort of getting roped back into the same fucking bullshit in a way, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
And I don't feel like you and I have truly like actually just been like, fuck it, we're just going to do some stuff by ourselves, like really by ourselves.
Yeah. I think, you know how you always say that thing about how you can, what's that thing you say? You can be talented, you can be kind, you can be
talented. You need 3 things to succeed in entertainment. Chelsea, here's what this is my
Okay, I'm ready.
thing for you. I didn't make this up. Somebody else did, but you have to have talent. You have to generate goodwill and you have to be hardworking, and you can exist for a period of time have success for a period of time if you have two of those three things. But if you don't have all three at some point or another, it's going to come crashing down and you will everything will go away.
Can I add an addendum?
Yes.
You can be an evil person with no talent who's very good at convincing people you're worthwhile and be successful for a portion of time. But you will have an unhappy life and it will come crashing down at some point.
Yes. Well, yeah, it's the same thing. Sure.
So Busy, I feel like there's a corollary for what we're trying to do. And I think that it's got to be something like you can, I don't know, I have to like work it out on scratch paper.
Right.
But it's got to be like.
You can like believe in your mission statement.
You can make money, but you maybe can't do both at the same time at the beginning. You know what I mean? Like something like that. I don't know.
Yeah, I don't know. Ani was like, I know that she sort of was like 7 years was a long time or whatever, but I was like, was it? Like, you know, she became really successful pretty quickly in terms of, I don't know, maybe she would have had a quicker success if she had been with a major label or hadn't just started her own thing.
It's really interesting. I mean, this, you know, we're talking about the 90s where like independence was really in vogue and smaller projects were really a big deal. And, you know, she did mention in the interview, she certainly saw people becoming more successful, kind of leapfrogging her and lapping her in terms of like financial success, but she stuck to her mission. And I think there's something to be said for that. That's, you know, I've said that probably to my detriment in every meeting that I've ever had is like, there are things that are as important as money.
Yeah.
You know,
yeah.
for me.
What I've really come to wholeheartedly believe is that people really want great work, great content. And if you are willing to put in the work to just do your own fucking thing, that almost always makes the best content without a bunch of other people fucking your shit up. And then those people who want to make money off you will find you. They'll find you. Everyone wants good shit. It's like when you break, like, and that's why I love why you guys have like your company, because it's just like you're just gonna make great shit whether you do it with other people or on your own. But the moment you're like, fuck off, we're doing whatever we want, 10 billionaires will be like, can we help make a profit off of that? You know, people want good work. They just do. That'll never go out of style. Like something that's good. You know, the video that's funniest always goes viral. It's just how it works.
It's true. It's true. Get at us, billionaires. It is very funny that everything's kind of like ass backwards. Like, you know, companies are constantly trying to make things that are quote unquote viral. And you're like, no, but that's not how it works. Like people tell us if it's viral. We don't say. Like if it was up to me, what goes viral, everything I do would go viral. Here's what I will say about myself, that everything doesn't go viral, but some things do, and that means that I have a decent track record. So if you want to work with me, it's very funny trying to do what you love and make a living at it, and it gets very weird very fast, but you love it so much that you just can't stop, even though it makes you sick.
Yeah.
Or like we learned with me, the best way to get like the acting job of your dreams is to declare that you've quit acting and that you have no interest in it. And then what happens?
It's so frustrating though. Sometimes this business really rewards, like, it's not that it's apathy, but it's like, you know, the auditions that you do best at are the ones you don't give a shit about. But I hate that. First off, I'm a try hard. I always try hard. So to be like, if you don't try hard, it'll go well for you. It's like, that's so unfair.
Right.
Yeah.
I care.
My quitting acting wasn't apathy.
No,
My quitting
exactly.
acting was like heartbreak.
Yes.
Yeah, like I can't, like at this point, like self-care for me is saying like, I cannot do this one more time where I get invested and excited and like want a thing to come to fruition that then gets like so close and then is like crushed in front of my eyes.
Totally.
You know, I'm a conspiracy theorist, and so I even think it's like, well, entertainment centers around power, you know, and so there's something powerful in convincing someone who said never again to say, okay, one more time. You know what I mean? So whether that's like people within entertainment, it's fun to convince someone to reverse course and to change their mind. Or maybe it's just like the universe being like, come on, bitch, you didn't mean it. I'm gonna make you eat your words.
Yeah. Well, I will say, like, Tina Fey notwithstanding, like, the universe really did like lay it out. Like, I could not say no to that, obviously. But I did get offered like a movie, you know, and it's like the kind of thing that like any version of myself before the last several years would have been like, this is my fucking dream in life to like be offered this and like whatever. And like, it just what I couldn't make it work because like it couldn't work.
Yeah.
It just couldn't work.
Yeah.
And like COVID and like my kids are in school here and like it just couldn't work. And I felt fine.
I love that. I love
like
that.
I wasn't like I wrote like a really nice letter to the director thanking him for offering it to me and saying how much I would have loved to, but like quite frankly, just couldn't make it work. COVID, my kids, money.
That's so much growth too, because when you're an actor, you're just trained to say yes to everything.
Oh, that's right. Yes.
And that never and in a way of like there's 1,000 of you. You should be so grateful for us to mistreat you. And it's hard to make that go away. So that's huge growth. And secondly, I just want to say, as someone who's been in the table reads and seen the clips from the show, Busy is phenomenal in this show. I mean, you're really phenomenal. It's really hard to imagine that anyone else would have been this character. And yeah, I can see why it's your dream job because it's a perfect role and you're great at it.
Aww.
I'm so nervous.
No, you're
I'm
so great.
Nervous.
That's crazy.
The characters I do like a crazy thing on the show.
Oh yeah. Yeah. But that's why I'm saying you're so great at it, because it is a role that requires really like being psychotic, hitting really hard laugh lines, but also bringing depth and sincerity and groundedness to it while hitting these like wackadoodle moments. And like, that's a hard needle to thread.
I mean, it's literally my life's work. Is threading that fucking needle, Chelsea.
Well, you're crushing it.
All right, should we go? We were going to read a letter, but I don't want to make this podcast 3 hours long again because everybody is, yelling at me about it. So actually, no one is. No one's yelling at me.
No one's yelling. People are just mentioning maybe it could be shorter, but then like a lot of you at home like it longer. And, here we are. We're stuck between like business people and people.
Business people. I love those categories.
I always err on the side of people.
People.
I'd like to cut all the business people out completely, and I think I might.
But here's the great thing about podcasts. It's really easy to turn them off. Like if you turn off the podcast right now, it was an hour. Good for you.
Oh my gosh. Okay, yeah, we can save the letter for next time. Maybe it will be yours.
You know what? I do want to, Chelsea. I need to know if you know where you're living. Yeah, in New York.
Busy right help. Now. I need your help so badly, and please guide me because I wanna love New York this time. I'd put all my money to bet against it, but I wanna love it this time.
No, we're gonna love it together. I've learned a lot in these past, I guess, how many months? 6?
Yeah.
7?
Wow, that flew.
6, 5. Some months. I've learned a lot. I'm getting my footing. It's fucking freezing today, which I'm mad about. But next week, someone said maybe the 60s.
Oh.
So I'm excited about that.
Okay.
I have thoughts. I have feelings. I feel like I'm really getting my bearings here. I feel like I know where you guys would be.
I'm going to take some of I'm going to like live under the cloud of your good energy. This is really bringing me a lot of excitement. I'm so excited about the job, not about New York, but now I'm feeling totally different. This
But
podcast
what if
was
you
for
stay-
me.
But like, here's another question. But what if you then just stayed and jumped back onto Girls 5 Eva?
Oh my gosh. I totally didn't even think that if it comes back, it'll be a New York in-person room. So here's another thing. I've never met a single person in a room we wrote the entire show on. Like, I don't know how tall people are. I don't know if I'll recognize them. Like, we lived in a Zoom box. I've never met anyone in person.
Wow.
Chelsea, do you
so
understand
weird.
that I didn't know what anyone looked like
That is crazy.
outside of the people I was acting against?
Wow.
I could not pick out, like, honestly, when Meredith took her mask off, Meredith created Girls 5 Eva, guys. When Meredith took her mask off the last night, everybody was doing this thing the last night where they were like dipping their masks down so people could see their full faces.
Yeah.
Oh my God.
I don't know why we didn't think to do that in the beginning. But anyway, it took us, everyone was scared, you know.
Yeah.
But so everybody took their masks down so we could see their faces. And Meredith, I was like, not what I expected. Not in a bad
Just,
way.
yeah,
at all.
totally.
She's
Sharing
beautiful,
something different.
but just like totally changed my whole impression of her face. They're like my favorite PA, Matt, when he showed me his lower half of his face, I was like, what? Who are you?
What a sexy
I don't
reveal,
even
too.
know
Like,
you.
I'm going to show you my jawline.
I was just recently shocked by learning that somebody I had been working with had a mustache, and it really floored me that I accidentally saw his mustache, and I
That
was
is
like,
so funny.
it's like back in back in Victorian times when you see like a little ankle, and you're just like, oh my God, I have to sit down.
oh, yeah. Oh, I just
know,
saw a wisp of an ankle.
I swear to God, it was really strange. It was really
Yeah,
bizarre.
I bet. Also, like,
So-
Meredith is so great, so smart, so funny, and also she was my boss, right? So in my head, again, so fucked up because she's my boss. I'm like, this woman's 6 foot tall, 6 feet tall. And then we played a game where we guessed each other's heights, and it's like she's like 5'3" or 5'4".
She's a peanut. She's
Yeah.
a tiny,
She's a little
tiny
cutie.
person.
Yeah.
Oh my God.
Never met her. I mean, we've spent a lot of time together. We've never met in real life.
That is so weird and funny.
Yeah.
But yeah, so I don't know. I have high hopes for
Okay.
your pivot.
Thank you.
And
Thank
move
you.
to New York.
My vomit and pivot. Vomit and pivot.
Vomit and
That's me.
pivot. Just if you have to vomit, do it.
Try not to vomit.
But
I'm really gonna try.
you know, but also as like the elder statesperson of this friend group, I feel like just no matter what, no matter how you're feeling, whether you're feeling fantastic about something or whether you're feeling doubtful about something, nothing is permanent. You know what I mean? Like nothing.
Yeah.
No show, no relationship, no life, no living situation, no job, no pet, no friendship. And like
This is going a dark place,
can
but
be
I see
dark.
that
It's
it's
dark.
very positive.
it can be dark, but it can also be positive because when something really sucks, it's not going to last forever. When something is really great, though, it's also not going to last probably forever. So you should remember that, and you should just like suck it into your cells and like
oh, that's
really
nice.
live it, because nothing is going to last forever. Like your kids are going to grow up and people are going to move on. So just no matter what, nothing is forever. So even if New York is terrible or wonderful, either there's a light at the end of the tunnel, or just like bring it into your body like sunshine and just like live it up.
This is really invigorating. You guys really
Yeah.
switch things around for me today. Thank you. That is such good advice.
Well, Chelsea, we're so lucky to have you as our guest host today.
So honored. Thank you for having me on. And for all fans of Caissie's, she's already been on my podcast. And for all fans of Busy's, I'm going to be reading and recapping her book on my Instagram and then deep diving it in a podcast episode. So if you haven't read it and want to read along, I'll be here.
The podcast is
This is the time to do it.
Celebrity Book Club with Chelsea Devantez. You can also find her on Instagram, and she's also on Twitter. You should watch all of her projects, including Girls 5 Eva coming up. And we just love you so much.
I love you
Love you
guys
so
so much. And I also love your merch. It's my cutest. It's my cutest shirt these days. It's a mint green.
Thank you. Yeah. If you haven't checked out the merch, we're working on new merch. We're trying to do like a spring refresh. So, I mean, if there's anything that you've been dying, like you're really wishing that there was like a piece of merch that existed, I guess let us know and we'll let you know what we come up with. We have fun
to make your
designing
dreams
it.
come true.
Yeah. So we want to make everyone's merch dreams come true.
Try to make your dreams come true.
Yeah. I mean,
Had a stripper pole on the way.
All right, maybe not. But you guys, until next week, we love you.
we love you. Bye.
I love you too.
Oh no.